Are you serious?
I have.
She gave me the
I was going to say Sean. Forest and tree.
listen,
For what you're doing. It's so important that we have access to numbers. We did have it at first because that helps them see each other's
it could be a clearing. You track what I'm saying? Listen.
I know. You follow what I'm saying? Oh my God. Oh my God.
I told you before. He said it was his house, and I said, "How is it your house?" He said, "I paid the taxes." So he thinks that
This thing belongs to you. To him. Oh my God.
so. Listen, we may be cracking it. I'm not paranoid, people. But listen, there's older people in some. They were walking around town all the time. Anyways,
Some of them are trying to do that.
it's your bad. I'm just trying to help. You hear me?
I like where it's headed. I like where that's headed.
Okay, it's time to get started. I'm going to call this special meeting of the Lawton City Council to order. Please stand for the invocation by Pastor Alan Hampton and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Bow our heads, please. Father, we thank you for your goodness, your mercy. We thank you that you hear us when we call and ask for things. And today we ask that you just give us wisdom and decorum as we come together to meet on these important items today. And give us wisdom to make the decision we need. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. All right, thank you, Pastor. Clerk, please call the roll.
Putin. Epps. Chapman. Gill. Hampton. Weider. Williams. Warren.
Okay, one announcement before we get started on the business items. And I'd like to ask you all to help me welcome Jerry Askins as our interim city attorney. And I'm sure Jerry wants to say something.
There it is. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate it, and to the members of the City Council for this opportunity. Today is day one, so I appreciate you having a special meeting just for me so that we can begin our business. But I look forward to working with all of you and with the wonderful city staff under the city manager and contributing whatever I can to help continue to grow Lawton, Oklahoma.
All right, let's give her another round. All right, that brings up business item number 1. Receive a briefing on the current status of the capital improvement program, including an overview of completed projects, projects under construction, funded projects pending initiation, tentatively scheduled projects under consideration for the next round of funding, and any remaining projects that were included in Resolution 24-278. Dwayne.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. We are excited about today. Today is a day that's all about CIP, and we really feel like this is kind of a new step. We haven't really done this before, where we've dedicated a meeting to just talking about the capital improvement program for the city of Lawton. I feel like it's really important that we provide you with an update, especially as we get ready to discuss and hopefully take action tomorrow at the regular meeting on the next round of funding for the CIP projects. So we've got a presentation here. The first slide is basically kind of an overview of the completed projects since 2015. You'll notice the public safety facility, the city hall build out, fire station number 8, aquatic center, I-44 pedestrian bridge, all of the things that I think the citizens and the community will recognize as accomplishment since 2015. Now this doesn't represent the entire list, but it represents a good portion of the most notable and recognizable projects. We've invested over $400 million so far in the CIP funds into the community and to making it a community of choice where families thrive, and we're going to continue to move that direction. The next slide here talks about the projects that are currently in progress. Obviously, we have the phase 1 McMahon Auditorium renovation and expansion. It's still ongoing. The police technology upgrade, which you approved this last year, those are taking place and being put in place. LFD alarm system. You're talking about a system that's probably 50 years old. It's finally being replaced, and the technology being brought up to today's standards. Goodyear Boulevard US 62 interchange. That program is ongoing. It's still in design phase, and we're acquiring the right-of-ways and those things. The Latch Transfer Center maintenance facility. This is one that's kind of been lingering along as we're continuing to find the location where that's going to go. We're now making progress on that. The continuation of park upgrades. It's no secret that Larry Parks, our new Parks and Rec or Community Enrichment Director, is taking the bull by the horns, and he is really making strides there. The D&B initiative with our Safe Neighborhood campaign, Kids First, that program continues to move forward. We have the Ellsworth Lake Dam repair in progress. Wastewater treatment plant improvements are continuing as we continue to bring it up to speed. And then also you got alternate water sources, groundwater sources, we're still doing those. And then the 11th Street Bridge hopefully will be completed here in a few months. Projects with approved funding, pending initiation. So just a few short meetings ago, we approved and closed on a note for the last round of funding where we refinanced previous loan from 2024, where we were able to secure a much lower interest rate, saving the city several $1 million in finance charges and interest. And we also added these 4 projects to that list as part of that funding. We've got the 107 in 2025, which is your streets project that Councilman Gill is spearheading. We've got the museum repair and renovation. That's on the list, and you're going to hear a presentation on the update or an update on where that's at tonight. Lawton Public Library on the ceiling renovation and upgrades there. And then one that seems to be really near and dear to the community is the Lawton Animal Welfare Adoption Center. You'll hear a presentation on that one as well. This list basically illustrates the remaining projects that were named in the resolution. You'll see some commonalities on this list when we go to the next slide. But this basically encompasses everything that was in the resolution as part of the CIP program. The items that you see that are underlined, those are items that we typically budget for on an annual basis. We cash flow those each year with a portion of funding that comes directly from the CIP. So we're addressing those on an annual basis a little bit at a time. We've taken the amount of money that was allocated in the CIP, prorated that, split that over the 14-year window over the 2040, and we're scheduling that for budgeting purposes. The great thing about doing it this way is it allows us to forecast what that budget's going to look like so we can program all of this as we move throughout the rest of the list. It also allows you as the council to prioritize what projects that you want to see completed first, whether it's going to be some of the ones that you're going to see tonight, I'm certain, but it gives you the option to be able to really kind of weigh which ones you feel like are the most important today. This list here represents the projects that staff has recommended, and you will see an item tomorrow resolution presented to the council for your consideration for the next round of funding. On this list, you'll see the Lawton Hughes Sports Complex, the Elmer Thomas Park upgrade we've been discussing, McMahon Ballparks, storm sirens, the Lax Transfer Center, the rest of that funding, the municipal golf course upgrades, airport improvements, park upgrades, cemetery upgrades, Discovery Zone, and then the Vista construction loan that was supported earlier this year during the budget. These total just under $85 million. So the funding that you'll be asked to approve tomorrow will be up to $85 million, which will supply the funding for this list of projects, unless you tell staff that you would like to change that list, and we can modify that per your direction to include the amounts, and those numbers can be changed as well. Before I step down and take any questions, I'm just going to say I kind of put this item on the front side of the agenda because I wanted to lay the groundwork for what you're going to see the rest of the meeting. We have staff here with some of the architecture firms and engineers that are going to be presenting multiple presentations on the different projects that we're proposing to move forward with. We felt like it was important that rather than just spring it on you in the meeting that you're going to be looking at the funding, approving the funding, that you have an opportunity to see the projects, look at those. If you have questions about what's being funded in there, or the scope of the work that we're asking to do, this gives you an opportunity to do that, and more importantly, provides a transparent look for the citizen within the community to see exactly what the process is.
Thank you, Dwayne. That's a great presentation. And we've really got a lot going on thanks to Propel and the Citizen Center. I'd like for you to go back to the last note that we just approved, that had, well, just go back. It was one of your first charts. This one right here. So it's my understanding that some of these are going to ask for more money, but they were funded at what rate?
So part of the museum update is going to be talk about the challenges that they've encountered. I was going to let them present that information to you, but you may, and in all likelihood, will be asked to supplement the funding request that's already been approved. The museum repair and renovation was funded at $6 million as part of the CIP. The other one is the Lawton Public Library. Part of that project, while it was funded at $2 million, there's an issue that has come up that it makes sense to address if you're willing to fund or supplement the budget for that, and that is the replacement of the HVAC, which is somewhere in the neighborhood of $300,000 to $500,000. So they'll be talking to you about that as well.
And these were in a note that we've already passed.
Correct, sir.
And were they in at the 6 million and 2 million that was planned?
Were they in?
Were they in that note?
Yes.
6 million and 2 million?
Yes.
Okay. So where would the other funds come from?
We would have to shorten the list that I provided you here. We would look at potentially cutting one of those programs, prioritizing those. If for instance, you might look at the cemetery upgrades. Does that one rise to the level, which one's more important? And this is why I say it's important to put it in front of you, because we need you to tell us which ones you want us to fund and how you want us to fund them.
All right, thank you, Dwayne.
Yes, sir.
Any other
And-
questions?
Mayor, I have one. Dwayne, just so we're clear on the other items too, the Animal Welfare Center was funded at $5 million, is that correct?
That's correct. It's
And then-
actually about 5.5. We have
Okay.
500,000 in the special fund.
And then the streets were at 17?
Streets were at 17 million.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much, Dwayne. That was a good presentation. It brings up item 2, receive a report and consider approving plans and specifications for project EN 2304 Animal Welfare Building and authorizing staff to advertise for bids. Mike?
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of the council.
Afternoon.
We're excited to bring several projects before you tonight for your consideration. We've got the entire engineering team here, as well as Dwayne mentioned, several architects and engineers, consultants on these different projects, as well as staff from the animal shelter, the library. So I think we can answer any questions that might come up tonight. We've completed several projects lately, engineering has, so we're looking forward to getting busy again. We hope you approve several of these. We're ready to get started. And the first one I'll bring tonight for your consideration is the animal shelter. Got Jamie Prayshaw here today. She's going to give you a presentation on that and hopefully answer any questions you've got.
Hi guys, it's nice to see several of you again. And for those of you who I have not met, my name is Jamie Prayshaw. I'm an associate principal with GH2 Architects. I lead our whole animal division, so we specialize in buildings that are designed around and for animals, things like animal shelters. So what you see on the screen here is the completed design for the animal welfare building. If you guys remember right from the last time that we were here, we were proposing taking what used to be the fire station that has now been vacated and they moved on to a new house. Taking that fire station and renovating it into what will be a new animal shelter adding on to the west side of that. So if we can go to the next slide. Oh, well, I can go to the next slide. So I will zoom in here in a second, but this is the overall site plan. So you can see on the right-hand side of the screen where it's predominantly green and yellow, that is what was the fire station. So in there, we will have a whole bunch of rooms where we will be holding our adoptable animals, including cats, dogs, and exotics. We will have a new reception desk, a welcoming lobby. That will be really your public-facing part of the building. And we're absolutely going to play off some of the cheesy, you know, the fire station with Dalmatian kind of a vibe within there. Behind that is a whole bunch of play yards. So the area to the north, there's several areas up there that are fenced that are quite a bit larger. That will be areas that we can use for allowing the staff to evaluate animals and understand, are they super sociable? Do they not want to have friends? Do they want to play? Do they want to play with other dogs? Also, when somebody comes to adopt a dog, let's say that they have dogs at home already, understanding, is that a dog that might get along with other animals that are already in somebody's house? And then off to the left behind the building is areas for dogs that are housed within the shelter so that they can get out and get their wiggles out and get their wags out a little bit. Behind there is now additional staff parking that is completely secured. So it's all fenced in. That way staff feels safe walking to and from their vehicles, whether it be late at night or early in the morning. To the south of the building is all new visitor parking. So that is, of course, where people who are coming that want to adopt an animal or who are coming to surrender an animal will park. There's a special intake door for animals that are either being surrendered or animals who had been found out in the public and are now being brought to the shelter in order for the shelter to help find their rightful people. On the far left of the building, I'm going to go to the next slide here and zoom in a little bit on the floor plan. You'll also see on the far left is a sally port. So when an animal control officer goes out and finds animals that are out abroad, that is a special room. It has garage doors on both sides. They can pull in and safely pull animals out of their vehicle and get them into the facility. They go directly into an intake room where they will be examined, make sure they don't have anything that is a communicable disease. They will get initial vaccinations. They will likely get a bath in case they are very gross, and then be able to go on into the rest of the shelter. You can see on this floor plan, those areas in green that we were talking about is all of those adoptable areas. So we have cats, we have large dogs, we have small dogs, and we have exotics. This building takes what the existing shelter holds. The existing shelter holds 120 animals. It takes that to 356 total animals that can now be saved within this facility. A lot of that is the areas that are either orange or pink on the left side of the screen in the upper areas. Those are for stray and or isolated dogs that may show signs of being sick. Cats are to the south of the building. There's a movement within animal welfare to be what's called fear-free, and that's all about understanding normal animal behaviors and how do we design to make sure that animals are as comfortable as they possibly can within their environments. Studies are showing that that leads to better outcomes, it leads to healthier creatures, it leads to less time that those animals are held within shelters, and it goes even beyond the building. It goes down to how the shelter staff are interacting with the animals, and that's already been an initiative of your shelter staff, is to be within that fear-free realm. We also have in here a surgery suite, so any sort of strays and or minor wound care can happen here rather than those animals having to be treated elsewhere and brought back. So again, we're working on what's the better outcome and the better process for these animals that are here. I'm going to quickly show you a couple of little renderings that we have. So this is our intake room. So you can see there's some temporary holding cages that are off to the right. Studies show that animals that are vaccinated upon entering a shelter, that vaccine starts to work within as little as 15 minutes. They are now protected against anything else that might already be in the shelter, and the shelter is now already protected from things that they might be bringing in. So that's why these intake rooms are super important. This is the small dog holding room with windows looking out toward the front. They get some wonderful daylight. This is your new reception area. This would be the cat adoption area. This would be one of the isolation or stray dog areas. And this would be your surgery suite with 2 surgery tables. So that's a brief overview. I apologize if I went fast. Did you guys have any questions?
I will comment, I don't have a question, but I will comment that it looks like a real good job here and a real good thing for our animal welfare. Mr. Hill, did you have a comment?
I did. I think that staff and the architect did a really good job on that. We started out a little bit rough a year or so back, and it's really come around. I think that we wound up saving a lot of money for the city, and I think we have a really outstanding project. I'm real happy with it. So with that said, I make a motion that we go out for bids on this project, that we approve it and go out for bids.
Okay, we have a motion for approve and authorization to bid. We have a second discussion or more questions. Please vote. Are we voting or calling the roll? Please vote. You know, we really didn't talk about money. It's, but I think I heard Dwayne say we had, this is a little over budget, but we had the extra money in some fund, if I remember right.
So the message to GH2 was to design the building to be a $5 million building. I believe there was 5.5, and that included things like fees, and I believe some equipment that's already been purchased. Is that correct? So as this building sits today, our in-house estimator has estimated that it will come in just under $5 million.
Okay, great. And it passes 7-0, so that's good. We're off to the races now.
Thank you, everybody.
Good job.
Sneha, did you want to tell us something? You good? Okay. All right. Item 3, receive a report and consider approving plans and specifications for project EN 2201, library ceiling renovation, and authorizing staff to advertise for bids. Mike?
Thank you, sir. This will be the next project we present for your consideration, the library ceiling renovation project. Again, we've got project architect Tiffany Dennis here from Guernsey Architects. We've got Scott Vaughn, and we've also got Kristen from the library who can answer any questions that may arise on this. She has a presentation for you.
Would you tell me your name again, please?
Yes, I am Tiffany Dennis with Guernsey.
Okay.
I am one of the directors of the design group, and I'm over architecture and interior design. And it's been a pleasure to work on this project with the library and with the city of Lawton. As you know, the library is an aging building. It's been around over 50 years. It's a well-used facility by people of all ages, young and old. Every time we were in the facility, it was amazing how many people actually come and utilize the facility. It was an exciting place to be. Our focus on this project was to update the ceiling. It's an aging ceiling. As you can tell, it's an old coppered ceiling with old light fixtures, old diffusers. As you can see, they're starting to stain the ceiling just from air and unfiltered air. So our project was to focus on upgrading the ceiling as well as the ductwork and the lighting. We also focused on updating the fire alarm system. It's dated, as well as providing a fire suppression system. This is kind of the layout we came up with. We went with an open ceiling concept, providing some acoustical felt ceiling clouds for acoustical purposes. Obviously, libraries, you want people to be able to focus. We also wanted to focus on thermal comfort as well as uniform lighting throughout the space. So this is kind of the layout that we have come up with. We have columns, this library was set on a 5-by-5 grid. The brick columns actually stop at 10 feet, so we tried to come up with a concept that focused like a collar around the columns so that you couldn't see the top of the brick. So that's concealed, but you will be able to see up beyond the ceiling clouds. So you will see exposed ductwork and that type of thing. Cable trays, we were gonna completely gut the existing ceiling, all abandoned wiring, abandoned ductwork, flex duct and that type of thing. And then from the VAV boxes on, we'd have new hard ducts and new lights. These are examples of the light fixtures that would be used, nothing extravagant, but also just a nicer aesthetic, a cleaner, more modern appeal to the library itself. This is kind of a sketchy rendering of the ceiling clouds, and you can see we would organize any type of wiring for your IT services into some cable trays. The proposal paints everything above the ceiling so it's all one uniform color above those clouds. It's a pretty straightforward project. Our budget was $2 million, and right now our estimate is right at $2 million.
Okay, so the ask is $2 million, and that's exactly what we have in the CIP. Questions, council? Mr. Warren.
So we've already approved the 2 million, is that, am I following that right?
Yes, and we've borrowed 2 million
Okay.
for this
And
project.
we're asking for another 3 to 5, or do we know how much for the air conditioning that we have to have now?
So we're not proposing to ask, we have some alternates in our project that would kind of cover new VAV boxes. Right now they are functioning, but they're not functioning efficiently. And we also have some drywall and some air curtains. So those are smaller items that were in our, we put them as add alternates, that when we do bid the project, that we could see if we could afford those if the project comes in under that $2 million.
So we don't need air conditioning?
Our study was not focused on a unit, it was just focused on the ductwork and the lighting and this actual ceiling system.
Because I've heard scuttlebutt that the air conditioner needs to be replaced, is that?
The unit is aging, it's an old unit, but that was not part of our focus on this project.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions before I start?
Yeah, why don't we explain the air conditioning again? Because I was under the impression there was going to be a request to replace the air conditioning, but apparently that's not it. And I just want to make sure I and everybody else understands what's going on with the air conditioning. I think Scott's foaming at the bit to tell
Thank you,
you.
Mayor and Council. Scott Bond, Chisholm Trail Consulting. I work as a project manager on behalf of the City of Lawton Engineering Department. And when we did the study, when Guernsey performed the study a couple of years ago, the focus was on the ceiling, the lighting, and the ductwork that would be, need to be replaced to replace the ceiling. So when we got to the point where we had completed the study, we'd submitted our estimate. At that time, it was $2 million. As we understood it, the budget was set based on that study at $2 million. During the design process, we recognized that it potentially we could potentially recognize an economy of scale and remove and replace more of the ductwork and the VAVs, the variable air volume handlers. So we decided that it would be a good idea to throw that in as an alternate bid item, that if bids did come in favorably, that Mayor and Council could consider awarding a bid for that additional item. There are certainly other items at the library that need to be addressed, that they're simply outside the scope of the project that was originally studied. If Mayor and Council were to direct to find other funding for replacing the HVAC, the air handling units, for instance, we would actually need to go back to the design phase. And it would actually, quite frankly, delay the project to do that. We've already included the VAVs in as an add alternate And we could move forward with the project as funded and as designed. And mayor and council, of course, would consider whether to award that ad alternate bid at the time of bidding.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. Any questions on that? Okay, go ahead, Mr. Hampton.
Yes, a thought just came to mind, we're tearing out the ceiling and replacing ceiling. Is there ducting up in that ceiling already that would remain there? And then in the event that they put another air conditioning system in there at some point, that your work that you're doing now will have to be tore out? I mean, is that a consideration?
Not affect the work we're doing now. If they came in and replaced that unit, they would replace the
I
unit.
can't hear you. Can you-
I'm sorry. If they came in and replaced the unit, they would also replace the ducts up to those VAV boxes. Our focus was from the VAV boxes out into the supplies.
Okay, thank you.
I was also under the impression there was going to be a request for funds to move the library while the work was done. Is that incorrect?
My understanding was that the library was going to do that themselves.
Okay, so the library is going to have to close down and move to do this ceiling work?
Yes. We were going to get a temporary space in another facility that was vacant right now. To phase this type of project would actually delay the project, you know, and cost more money. If you can go in and do it all at once, it would be about let's see, we had 180 days of construction, 30-day lag for materials. So the hope is to get in. get
Okay,
this in-
as long as they're not asking for CIP money, I'm not too concerned.
No.
I'm going to throw it to Mr. Warren.
And turn off the stopwatch, because this is gonna take a little while. And I'm gonna read it because I'll see something shiny and go off the track. I don't oppose progress, I champion it. I don't oppose the library, I support it. I would simply like to ask the council to pause, just pause, before we commit taxpayer dollars to a decision that could definitely define our city's future for the next half century. Our municipal library was built in 1973, and it served us faithfully for 52 years, but let's be honest. This building has exceeded its 50-year accounting life. The roof, the ceiling, the HVAC system, electrical infrastructure, all of these critical systems are operating at roughly half the efficiency of modern standards. They're not just old, they're obsolete. Everything in the building. The staff has asked us to approve repairs to the ceiling and the HVAC system. I don't question their sincerity or their dedication to serving our community, but I do question whether a quick patch, a 5 to 10 year Band-Aid, is the right use of public funds when we stand at a crossroad that demands strategic thinking. We have 3 paths forward. And council, we owe it to the people who have given us the funds and who elected us to look at all 3 with open eyes. First, we can patch the current building, fix the ceiling, replace some HVAC units, limp along for another 5 or 10 years with a facility that still consumes energy like a 1973 Lincoln Continental. Still constrain our ability to serve modern library users and still require another round of expensive decisions before this decade is out. Second, we can modernize in place. We can invest substantial capital in replacing major systems, reconfiguring the interior, bringing the building up to code. This gives us 25 or 35 years of useful life. But it still locks us into a 1970s shell with all the inherent limitations. Or third, we can think bigger. We can ask ourselves, what if we leverage the millions this city and the FISTA have already invested in renovating and updating Central Plaza? Let me paint a picture of what might be possible. Central Plaza has a brand new roof, state-of-the-art facade work, modern systems. We've already made that investment. Why would we spend more money duplicating those upgrades at the old library when we could use what they've already built? I know at one time the thought was to move the library over to the plaza while the work was being done. Well, why not move it and leave it? The numbers tell the story. A modern building envelope provides 30 to 50% energy savings compared to the 1970s construction. We're talking about reducing annual utility costs by $1 a square foot, year after year after year. That's not speculation. That's documented by the United States Department of Energy and proven in library renovations across Oklahoma and Texas. But the real opportunity here goes beyond dollars and cents. FISI, Vista Youth and Science Museum, will sit right there in Central Plaza, a facility dedicated to STEM education, to inspiring our youthful minds, to hands-on learning. Imagine combining that with our library services. Imagine a child moving seamlessly from story time to a robotics workshop. Imagine a teenager researching a science project in our digital resources and then building the project in a makerspace down the hall. This isn't just a far-fetched dream. This is what modern 21st century learning looks like. This is what Kids First really means. Creating a safe, inspiring, and accessible environment where reading and science come together, where families can spend an afternoon exploring ideas instead of just checking out a book. Operational efficiency. When we co-locate services, we get to share a lot of those services. That's money that could go towards programming, towards digital collections, towards the services that our citizens actually use. Then there's downtown revitalization. Let's don't forget the bigger picture, our downtown. We've invested in Vista. We've invested in the Plaza redevelopment. A modern library STEM learning campus doesn't just serve families. It becomes an anchor, a destination that brings people downtown, that supports local businesses, that shows the world Lawton is serious about its future. Council, I want to address the elephant in the room. In-person visits to libraries have declined 25 to 35% nationwide since 2019. That's not a Lawton problem, that's a reality in our digital age. Meanwhile, digital checkouts and online services continue record growth. Does that mean we don't need libraries? Absolutely not. But it does mean we need to be smart about what a library should be in 2025 and beyond. We need flexible spaces for collaboration and learning, not just endless stacks of books. We need makerspace where kids can create. We need study areas where students can work together. We need meeting rooms where community organizations can gather. The 1973 building was designed for a world where 60% of the floor space was dedicated to book stacks. Modern libraries allocate 25 to 35% for stacks because we've learned that libraries are about people and programs, not just printed volumes. Here's another something that the patch and the repair approach ignores entirely: funding leverage. A joint library STEM learning campus makes us competitive for grants and endowments we could never access with a standalone library. We're talking about the Institute of Museum and Library Services Accelerated Promising Practice Program, National Science Foundation Informal STEM Education Grant, State Library Construction Funding, corporate endowments from Boeing, Google, Gates Foundation, Oklahoma Community Foundation, and many more philanthropic organizations want to fund innovative cross-disciplinary projects that serve multiple generations and demonstrate measurable impact. A literacy STEM hub checks every one of those boxes. A new ceiling on an old building checks none. Mayor, you've spoken eloquently about Lawton's commitment to passion for progress and for Kids First. Tonight, I'm asking the council to prove those aren't just slogans. There are governing principles. Kids First means creating spaces where children and families feel safe, inspired, and empowered to learn. It means thinking about what students will need, not just next year, but in 2040 and 2060. Passion for progress means having the courage to question conventional wisdom. It means looking at a repair estimate and asking, is that the smartest use of public funds, or are we just doing what's easiest? Kids First provides the purpose. Passion for Progress provides the momentum. Together, they define why Lawton should build smarter, safer, and stronger for the next generation. I'm not asking council to make a final decision tonight. I'm asking you to make an informed one. The motion that I would like to make is really straightforward. I would like to direct the city manager to defer any major maintenance or repairs and replacements at the main library until such time as a committee is formed by the mayor, has enough time and opportunity to look at all the opportunities and options available and bring back to this council within 120 days a recommendation for path forward. 120 days, that's all we're asking. 4 months to examine life cycle costs, community impact assessments, grant and funding opportunities, energy saving projections, operational efficiencies. These are all things that should have been done before there was ever any discussion about fixing the ceiling. And it's not just at the library, it's at everything that we do. We piecemeal every single project that we've done. And that's why we've gotten to where we're at. And we're having to dig out with Propel 2040 and build new buildings like the police and some of the other facilities. When you continually just patch, you continually have to patch. Let's compare apples to apples. Let's quantify the benefits. Let's explore every possibility. Council, we expect our personal vehicles to last 10 to 15 years. Are we really going to make a public investment that gives us only 5 to 10 years of useful life on a building? Our children and grandchildren will judge us by the decisions we make now. They'll ask whether we had a vision or whether we just kicked the can down the road. They'll ask whether we spent our tax dollars wisely or whether we took the easy path. I've heard some say we need to move fast. The library needs repairs, and yes, it does. But friends, we operated this building for 52 years. 128 days of thoughtful study won't make any difference. What might crash down is our credibility if we rush in to fix minor repairs when major repairs is what's really needed. The Central Plaza facility isn't going anywhere. Phi-Sci is in the planning stages, and as we speak, it would be ready for collaborating when design and building phases begin. If that's the final decision, that may not even be the decision, but we should look at it. The great opportunities are available now. This is the perfect time, the only time, to make this decision with our eyes wide open. Here's what it comes down to. Do we want to repair an outdated building, or do we want to create a 21st century learning environment that serves multiple generations, saves taxpayers money, revitalizes downtown, and positions Lawton as a forward-thinking community? Do we want to spend limited capital dollars on systems that will be obsolete before they're paid off? Or do we want to leverage existing investments and create something extraordinary? Do we want to tell our children that we did what was convenient or that we did what was right? Mayor, council members, I know some of you may feel pressure to approve these repairs now. I know staff has worked really hard on these plans. I know there's an institutional desire to move forward, but I'm asking you as a fellow servant of this community, as someone who cares deeply about Lawton's future, to take a breath, to ask for more information, to demand the comprehensive analysis that a decision of this magnitude deserves. Because we're only talking about a roof, right? I mean, a ceiling. That's what it seems like, but we're really talking about the future. Because this isn't the last repair that needs to be done. To demand a comprehensive analysis, that decision of this magnitude deserves. Vote yes on the study, give the committee 120 days to bring us a real data. In conclusion, I would just say in 1973, our current library was built. Personal computers didn't exist. The internet was years away. Digital books were in science fiction. The leaders who built the facility did the best that they could with what they had. Now it's our turn. We know things they didn't. We have options they didn't have. We have an opportunity to create something that reflects not just the libraries, what libraries have been, but where they're going. Let's not squander that opportunity with a hasty decision. Let's not settle for adequate when we could achieve excellence. Let's not patch when we could transform. I urge you to support the motion for a comprehensive study. Let's give ourselves and this community the gift of thoughtful strategic planning. Our children are watching. Our grandchildren will inherit what we build and what we fail to build today. Let's make them proud.
Okay, let me see if I can get this motion down to where it's a little more understandable. You want a moratorium on the maintenance expenses unless they're absolutely necessary during this time of a committee to be appointed by the mayor and report back in 120 days. I'm gonna put the mission in my words, and you tell me if I'm wrong, the best library plan for the community for the future, is that right?
That's right,
Okay.
regardless of what it is.
Did I know there's a lot of information there, and we'll refer to that in the committee, but did I basically get your motion?
That's correct.
Okay, does everybody understand the motion? Is there a second? Right, we do have a second. I want to compliment you on, you've obviously done your homework on this. That's a great presentation, but I'm going to ask you if you'll accept a friendly amendment.
Yes, sir.
Since you said that the mayor's supposed to put the committee together, I would like to go ahead and appoint you as the chairman. And will you accept that as a friendly amendment?
Yes.
And it's seconded. Now, discussion. Yes, Mr. Hampton.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, if you've ever listened to me, I'm really into maintenance. Maintenance is really something that we have lacked in the city of Lawton for many, many years. And it's one of the things that this mayor and council has been working on extremely hard. I've been here 6 years. It goes quickly. I'm only going to be here another 3. And completing some of that work so that we have longevity in some of the questions, some of the things that have been brought before us. I don't think that 120 days is that bad. I did visit with Councilman Gill and the library, some of the library staff and some of the engineering staff, and looked at that building myself to try to take a look at it. And I do indeed think that there's more that needs to be done to that building besides just that part. I'm old enough to know what a card catalog is, and I went to that library when I was younger, and I remembered where the card catalog actually was, and I think there's like a replica or something right there. Brought back memories, but I think 120 days is a good idea to try to look at maybe some longevity, especially in light of the HVAC system that I think probably needs to be done when that ceiling is done. Thank you, Mayor.
Any other comments, questions? Let's vote. No, we've got a motion on the floor and a second. We're going to vote. Are we missing someone?
Councilman Weaver, yours is not showing.
It never came up.
Can you accept a vote from him? So that okay, motion carries 7-0. And I will get with the chairman to make sure we get this committee right, and we'll get started on that. And I'll have it ready to vote on the members a week from tomorrow. Okay. That brings up item 4, receive a presentation from the Lawton Youth Sports Trust Authority, Lisa, and Eastern Sports Management, ESM, regarding the Lawton Fort Sill Sports Park economic impact analysis, including the proposed facility design and a request for formal approval of the scope of work, either as a phased approach or as a full project, and take action as deemed necessary. Brian?
Good afternoon, or as we head into evening, Council, Mayor. Once again, thanks for the opportunity to show you where we're at in our progress and hopefully get an agreement on a scope of work. I will have Brian Cann, who is with Eastern Sports Management. He'll actually run through the design piece of it. Got some data for you. You can take the guy out of the bank, but you can't take the banker out of the guy, right? So I've got some numbers for you, and I know those are important. I do want, he is here, I do want Will to stand up for just a minute there. Will Miller is the boots on the ground, as I call it. He's the general manager for Play Law. So he runs the entire programming piece for the youth sports program here in town, and doing a great job, and I think what we're going to show you is proof of that. Last time I was here, I told you we owed you a revamped design because our revamped logo, because our logo seemingly looked just like AFES. Oops, but we fixed it. So we now have a new logo. You did approve the renaming of Lawton Fort Sill Sports Park, formerly known as Eastside Park. So this is our new monument sign heading into the park. I'm not going to read you all that, don't worry. There's a couple of pieces up here that I think are important based on some questions that have surfaced, valid questions. I think if you go back to the 2019 CIP language, there was language in there for funding up to $8 million, and all of the discussion about that was for a facility that was going to be about $12 to $15 million in cost. What I'll remind you on that is in 2019, when I was asked to come up with a price, it was three guys, one of them, which is here, Mr. Hossain and Albert Johnson Jr., that took a visit down to Plano Sports and said, hey, how much did you build your last building for? Which that was in 2019. The last time they built a building was in 2014. So we took their price per square foot, added 5% per year, so 25% to the cost, on a planned 85,000 square foot facility, and came up with $12 to $15 million. It wasn't a bad stab in the dark. It was a stab in the dark, as educated as could be at the time with what we had. But the 85,000 square foot building ultimately was too small for what our vision for this facility is. And we got to that because once we hired Eastern Sports Management to run the programming in August of 2022, one of their first missions was to commission a third-party study for feasibility and economic impact. What the feasibility study said is your 85,000 square foot building is not big enough. You can barely host the teams you have planned right now in that facility. Regional tournament play, based on that feasibility study, you need to be at 8 courts, 8 hard courts. So that automatically grew the building. In an effort to expand on the revenue potential, we added an indoor turf field to the design. So the building grew to 141,000 square feet as it sits today, and you'll see some of that. The economic impact numbers are huge for this project. Before I get into that though, one of the common efforts that we have here is to compare ourselves to peer cities. I went and found what our peer cities are doing. Norman, Reeves Park, just across the street from the multinational champion Oklahoma Sooner softball program, is investing $17 million in Reeves Park. They currently have 6 fields, 6 diamonds. I think it's important to know they're diamonds. We call ours fields because they're going to be multi-purpose turf fields. But these are all diamonds, either softball or baseball, and they're adding 4 more to it. They're spending $17 million. That's on the heels of spending 36 to 42. The reason there's a gap there is because depending on which story you read, it's 36 million or 42 million. But it's at least a $36 million project on the north side of Norman. YFAC, Young Family Athletic Center, has 8 basketball courts that converts to 12 volleyball, 2 indoor swimming pools, and they have a partnership with Norman Regional Hospital for physical therapy. I think that's where the $6 million delta is. I think that was their investment into their part of the facility. Enid, Mayor, I know you've been in up to look at the progress on this facility before. advanced soccer complex, investing $14 million, one championship field that will host National Junior College Soccer Championship. Edmond investing $17 million on renovation and construction of new outdoor facilities. It's 10 fields existing and constructing new. The Edmond Soccer Complex, I added that one up there. I don't have any pictures of it. What was of note to me in doing the research on it, it was built in 2008 and they're going back now and investing $5 million in upgrades to a facility they built in 2008. Here's why the program is important and why I wanted to mention Will. A lot of numbers up there. The highlighted ones, I think, tell the story. So the first one under 2022 participants, 2,158 kids participated in youth sports. We basically ran one sport a season, we ran the sports once a year, so a season, multiple sports in the fall, basketball in the winter, softball, and baseball in the spring, summer. As our years, I am using here, not to confuse it with fiscal years, fall to fall, because that's kind of the start of the school season, which is when the seasons kick off for us. So at the end of this summer, starting fall of 2024 to summer 2025, our youth participation numbers are 3,379. That's an 89% growth since Lawton Youth Sports and Play Lawton took over the program. We are wrapping up the fall season right now in that green highlight. You see we had 45 teams last year in the fall season, which is flag football, baseball, softball, and volleyball. Same sports again this year. We now have 74 teams and we've grown to 1,075 participants, a 60% growth year over year in the fall. Last winter, which is volleyball, basketball, and futsal, we had 96 teams, and I'll remind you, we play in borrowed facilities. Lawton Public Schools, we have a program with them where we use their facilities, and keep in mind, they have basketball, boys and girls, 9th grade, wrestling, archery, and all of their other programs that go in those facilities. We have to schedule around them. I'll invite Brian to come up and walk you through the design. We did not include the detailed floor plan like we had the last time. We thought we'd bring you the renderings more on this one.
Mr. Mayor, council members, as Brian mentioned, so my name is Brian Can. I'm the project manager of Eastern Sports Management, so I've been leading the design of this sports park in this facility. So before you is a rendering of what the park would look like. We have in the lower quadrant of it is the facility with parking. As Brian mentioned, the facility is 141,000 square feet. We have about 600 parking spots around the facility. As you work your way north, we have additional 1,000 parking spots up there with the 10 fields. You'll notice 3 of the fields are in field blocks, and then we've got 4 individual fields. What that allows us to do is in the regular individual fields, right, you have 1 soccer field, 2 baseball, softball fields. However, in the 3 blocks, we have the ability to have a movable outfield wall and do higher levels of competition with an outfield wall that's further back. So that gives us more flexibility there. In this, we also have 3 restroom buildings. They're a little small in the design, but we want to make sure there's adequate restroom space, concessions available for the participants that are using the space. All right. So here's a different angle of the rendering, as you can see. So we've added an additional entrance into the facility to provide room for traffic that follows our road back to the additional parking for where the fields land. You'll see we have the existing parking to the right, to the east, and in this current design, what we've done is we've taken the 4 existing grass fields and we've put 2 artificial turf fields over it, so we'd still have 4 baseball fields, but we'd have the ability to have multi-sport in there as well. There are some grade challenges that we've worked through in this facility and where we would need to cut and fill, and so back in the spring, we contracted with ADG Black, the architect out of Oklahoma City, and so they've been working with their civil engineer Wallace, working on the best way of us to lay out the space and to cost cut as much as we can to make sure we're not having to put in expensive retaining walls or anything of that matter. So here's the front entrance, as Brian mentioned. So we went through a process and we're able to get the logo updated with the Play Lot and Plex, as you can see on the right-hand side. It is a pre-engineered metal building. However, we don't want it to just be a plain, boring building, right? We don't want it to look like a warehouse. And so, as you can see, we've added some color to it. We have some additional images where we have a front portico area with a drop-off space for the kids. A big part of this is we want to make sure the kids are safe outside the facility as well, right? In a lot of these instances, the parents are dropping off their kids, and if they're doing it in the parking lot without the drop-off, you know, there's people driving to the parking lot that may not be as cautious as others, and so we wanted that ability to keep those children safe as well. So here is that front drop-off area. As you can see, again, it gives it some depth and dimensions, so that again, it's allowing it to not be a simple building design. Here's another angle of that entrance. And then as you move into the interior, so with it being Play Lawton, we wanted to, no pun intended, play off of that with the play symbol, as you can see from the triangles. But you can see particular designs. You're coming in, you've got your front desk, Play Lawton Plex over the top, obviously highlighting Kids First in the City of Lawton. When you're coming into this space, what we wanted it to do is be an open space, because we will have gathering spaces in the front entrance. There's people that want to mingle before or after games, right? And then we also wanted it to be directional in the sense that from this design, if you were to go right, you're entering the 8 basketball court space. If you were to go left, that's where you're entering those 2 indoor turf fields. And so it makes it easy, so when people are coming into the building, they've got a direction of which they can go. This is a rendering of the concession space. So as a part of it in that central core, we do have concessions, the ability to, when we're running these tournaments, right, people are going to be in the building for longer periods of time, and so we want to make sure that we're, bringing the color palette through, providing the resources necessary to them, and this is just giving you an idea of what that would look like. This is the basketball court. So there are 8 basketball courts, which can be 16 volleyball or 24 pickleball courts. So it has the flexibility of what we need it to do for the community, whether it's local pickleball play. We've got basketball, volleyball leagues that we're doing tournaments and bringing out members from around the community. This gives us that flexibility of what we need to do with that space, right? If we were to do 4 basketball courts, the ability to host those tournaments, that's bringing the out-of-town guests, it gets limited. So by expanding it to that 8, it's going to really increase the ability to bring out-of-town guests, in addition to being that asset for the local community. This is going to be the other side of the facility with the 2 indoor boarded turf fields. Obviously, with the turf outside during certain winter months, people are going to want to come inside, whether we're doing flag football, indoor soccer. Really, these are multi-use. We want all of the space to be multi-use. We don't want it to be guided in one direction, and so this allows us that flexibility that we're looking for here.
So here's the payoff, right? I mentioned the original feasibility study and economic impact study. That was in 2022, delivered in 2023. It's on the right-hand side, the indoor only. When we were back in March or April, we started taking a look at if we built outdoor fields with it, what could the economic impact look like with those 10 turf multi-purpose fields. So the annual visitors, those are out-of-town visitors projection. The number we gave the third-party data sources who did impact data sources who did the study is we told them our projection was to run 35 tournaments a year. That's 35 out of the 52 weekends, which is a light number to what Eastern Sports Management does in their other facilities right now. We wanted it a little more conservative. Everything else is based off of formulas and algorithms from there, right? So each team is allotted 14 people. That's team, coaches, trainers, scorekeepers, things of that nature. And then each player in that group, the expectation is 1.5 spectators per. And in the years that I did this, that number seems about right. 1.5 visitors per that will come into town. That's out-of-town visitors coming in. You see the average hotel nights, 40,000 for the indoor only, climbs to 55,000 for the addition of the outdoor. I won't run through every one of those numbers, you can see those, but annual totals on the spending, $10 million on the indoor only, 18.5 million on the indoor and outdoor. If you project those over 20 years, assuming a 3% increase, either that's increase in participation or increase in cost, which is gonna happen, you get to a total economic impact of $275 million for the indoor only, and just under $500 million if everything is built. Direct collections, 17 million for the city of Lawton in tax collections, and 33 million for the entire phase project. Somebody asked me, well, why would the county taxes be separate? Somebody may stop and get gas and a sandwich in Medicine Park on the way out of town, or at Love's, and that wouldn't obviously be city sales tax collections. So this is a project that not only satisfies the youth that are playing now, that are growing at 89% since we've taken over the programming, but also to attract regional sports tourism dollars. Right, we've had several missions in this process. One of the first tasks you all gave us was to have the premier youth sports program in the state. I think from a programming standpoint, we are getting there. We're not there yet, we know that, but we're getting there. Lawton Fort Hill to be a city of choice where families thrive, and if there's a Kids First initiative, opposite of learning, it's sports, which teaches other components to it. So I think this project checks a lot of boxes. I know that can't be seen by everybody, you guys have it up front. We have broken this down into phases. So the request that Mr. Burt showed earlier was $40 million. That's for the indoor facility only. We actually think we can value engineer that back once we get the contract in place and can actually hit the ground running on that. We've started some work on that and believe we're not far off. These phases can be moved around. What we tried to do is keep them relatively same dollar amount for each phase. So if we just took the next phase, which is adding the parking lot, taking the road up to the north, adding 2 of the turf fields, we would still have the 4 grass fields that we play on now. So that'd give us 8 total diamonds to play on. I will say that the ones there now would not be deemed regional tournament quality. They would be recreational tournament or recreational play quality, our league play. The next phase could be building over the top of those 2 fields and the 3rd field up top. It would also bring the road around that existing parking lot that's south of the current fields. Those numbers are running about 10.5 million. We think that's still high. And John and Brian have some firsthand knowledge of some construction that's going on turf fields that we think that number will continue to come down. One option for, so let me back up, right? 40 million for the building. If we had 10 million, we could build new fields. If we had 5 million more, we believe we can build over the top of those existing 4 fields and a concession stand. And that's what I mean, there's some flexibility in the phasing. We've just tried to keep the dollars for the presentation about the same. Next, we'll move over to the west side. This is the land that we bought. Just reminding you, we have 120 acres between what we bought, what we're leasing from the public school system, Lawton Public School System, and what the city owns there already. So this would add the final pieces of the parking, those 3 fields, or 2 fields, and then these 3 fields in phase 5. So right now, the building's coming in at 40, all of the fields coming in at 30, so a total of 78. Again, I think that is high. As we get deeper into the actual bid process and value engineering, we fully expect those numbers to come down. I think we can get the building in from a construction standpoint to that $37 million. Questions I can answer.
So, what kind of outside money do we have going into this? What non-city money? Okay.
McMahon Foundation has awarded us $3 million. It's paid out in 6 installments of $500,000. We've received 350 of that, which is what we used 300,000 to buy that land. And then we applied for the TSED grant. The email was very nice and said there was $1.6 billion in requests for $150 million, and we were not one of them. So we've been declined by Defense Community Infrastructure Program and TSED for grant requests.
Okay, and you brought up Enid, and I appreciate you doing that, and I've texted the mayor of Enid to find out, because when he was touring, giving me a tour, and we went to the soccer complex, I was amazed at how much local donations went into it. That is other than city funds, and it wasn't grants, it was local people putting in money. And I love all of this, and I want to do this, and I'm a believer that our goal needs to be the premier youth sports program in Oklahoma. And you're absolutely right, the Kids First Initiative covers a lot of things, and one of them's got to be sports. It's so important. It's what people want for their kids today. I agree. Our challenge is funding it all. And I wonder, have we explored, and I'm not suggesting that we put this off, but I am suggesting, thank you for putting it in phases, because my guess is we're going to get to a phase today. But I wonder if we've explored selling naming rights or anything like this to the fields or in some way, and I wish the mayor would tell me what the local input was of non-city money, because it's going to knock our socks off of what it was. So my question is, have you explored some of those funding?
Yeah, the initial discussions with Eastern Sports Management is using naming rights of the courts and fields to help offset operational costs. I read parts of what you're talking about, Mayor, and there was I can't remember the family name that invested a huge amount of money into their project up there. Here's the challenge I think I would face if I knocked on doors and asked for money. You've been playing with this thing for 6 years, get something up and come talk to me then, would be my thought.
Yeah, and that's valid, I think.
Yeah. If anybody's got a couple $1 million laying around, I'd take it today. But I think we've got to get the building built, and then I think we can get other funding for the outdoor. I will tell you, having said that, I heard patchwork from Mr. Warren in his discussion about the library. We're way beyond patchwork on all of these fields. We have sprinkler problems we don't really know the full extent of. We have lighting problems at both facilities. A little later in the agenda, you're going to look at an item for a retaining wall at McMahon Park. We got a long way to go on the fields.
Okay, I have another question. The council at one time, I think there was even a motion made and we voted on it to dedicate $9.5 million remaining of ARPA funds for this, and we held it. Do you remember that? Then we weren't meeting the timeline, so we used it for infrastructure in the industrial park. John, I'm gonna need you on this. Okay, did you hear what I was saying? Please repeat it. At one time the council took action. It said the $9.5 million remaining of ARPA funds was to be reserved for the sports complex. Then we weren't meeting the time frame to spend the money. And so the council approved spending that in the industrial park on infrastructure. Now, maybe I'm looking at this wrong, but I think that would have been funded by the city in some way and paid back by the TIF, which I think the TIF is probably scheduled to pay it back anyway, but I personally think it needs to go to this project. This council was committed that 9.5 was going to go to this project. Mr. Warren's shaking his head, he remembers it, does anybody else? I think we need to work on figuring that out as well, and how that's gonna be spent, and whether that's part of the, I'm kind of making an assumption we're probably gonna approve 40 million here, the phase one. Is that what phase one was? And then the council's gonna need to decide if that is part of phase one, or if we can figure out how that cash is gonna flow and use it as a part of phase two or something. Now, I will, if you don't have any questions on that, I'm gonna open it up for questions. Mr. Warren.
My first question was, Brian, can you explain to council a little bit about the issue that we're getting ready to have with soccer fields?
Yeah, so our board has been having discussions with the Lawton Soccer Club at their request. So we have been approached by the Lawton Soccer Club to consider taking their program under Play Lawton. The way it's been explained to me is their season, they pay annually is my understanding. That just happened in August and that takes them through May. But their desire to me has been that we look at taking over their programming in August of 2026. You know, a couple of things around those dates. Oshlega Park is a lease. We currently do not play any games at Oshlega Park. We have moved those to Eastside and to McMahon to try and minimize some of the maintenance costs. That lease expires with the county. It's a city lease that is subleased to us in June of 2026. So there's a decision to be made on that piece. The rent is paid in exchange of water. I'm getting there. There is a window, the Lawton Soccer Club leases that acreage out on Lee Boulevard from the Commissioners of Land, or Office of Land Commission now. The old school commission, land commission. Those are 55-year leases. They have a window in September of 2027 to get out of that lease at no cost. So there's a decision to be made on two pieces of assets, I'll call them, over the next 2 years. The lease is not very much comparatively. I think it goes to $9,900 in 2027. The maintenance of the volume of that facility, which is completely in the floodplain, is where the cost comes in. The initial report is it's going to run about $4,000 to $5,000 a month above what they're collecting to run that programming, and then that would include the maintenance as they have it today.
To expand on that a little bit, if we went ahead and took that program over and finished out the lease as much as we could where we're at, so that youth will have a place to play, how many fields would we need to build outside in order to provide enough room to do those tournaments and stuff that take place at the big green?
I'm gonna turn to Will right quick.
So to be able to host currently operating.
Why don't you come up to the microphone, please?
We might even have a lot more questions when you get up here.
He happened to spend half of his life on the Lawton Soccer Club board as well, so he's got inside moves.
Good evening. So currently they are operating with 3 full-size fields for tournament play that they just hosted last weekend. They had 78 teams when I spoke with their board at a tournament. That includes, I'd say 50% of it was out-of-town teams that came in. So with 78 teams in their tournament, it was 3 full-size fields, 4 U12 fields, which are a little bit smaller than a full-size field when we're talking about the turf fields Brian was presenting earlier. If I were to just estimate on the full-size multi-purpose fields, we would probably need a minimum of 6 to be able to encompass everything.
And what would it, Brian, what would it cost us to build in some configuration those six? Now, are we able to use the 2 indoor?
Yeah, if we went this, so it would be this phase, and we could cut, which is your 2. I mean, it's probably in the $20 to $25 million range minimum. We could build over these 2 fields on the bottom. We are pretty confident we can get, because it's already established, right? There's not much leveling to do. There's probably, we got to demolish the concession stand and move it out of the middle, but $5 million to build over those, so that gives us 2 full. We'd have to build those, that's 15. You're into the $20 to $25 million range to take what's there now.
If we were to, if the council was to approve the 40 million today, and we were to direct staff to find that 9.5 million that we were talking about earlier, that went to someplace, the ARPA funds.
Went to the industrial park, which means it qualifies to be repaid by the 10th.
So if we can attach those funds, which give us 9.5, would we be able to build enough fields there with that 9.5, plus any overage that might come from the building in the building? I know we may have to use like one of the parks, Arnold or one of those, as much as we hate to do that because it spreads everything out. But would that get us by?
So I guess I'd answer that by, I think when we're said and done, and a couple of caveats, right? City council was kind enough and had the wisdom, I'll say, to fund us at $1.25 million to design the whole thing, right? That $3 million's coming from McMahon. If we get that number to where I think it's going to wind up on the building, and that does not include repaying the design costs and keeping the McMahon separate, I believe we can build the building and over the top of those existing fields for that $43 million. 40 plus the 3 from McMahon.
Okay.
My next step would be to knock back on LPS's door because there's a soccer field right next door. So that would be another asset if we could lean into that as a potential. So that would give us if we did those 5, right? The yellow and then this phase, the MacArthur soccer field could give us 6. Now, if Kevin sees this tomorrow, he's gonna say, why did you throw me in the mix? But he has said that, right? Play on our fields. If we formalize that agreement, we could get to 6 fields for probably $50 million.
So we could stay where we're at, basically.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be able to grow any. We couldn't be regional.
No.
But we could take care of what we need to take care of. Because that's my concern at this point. If nobody picks up that lease, which I don't see anybody picking up a 40 or 50-year lease on the Big Green, then we're going to be out of anywhere to play. So the dates work out perfect, really. So if we can get enough money to build over the top of those fields and beg and borrow a little bit of field, we should be able to stay where we're at. And then we can start concentrating on, because that's the important thing, Council, is those numbers that I like so much, the economic dollars that are actually going to flow in here, $500 million, that comes from having all the outdoor fields completed. Because the regional is where the money's at. We'll be able to survive on local and just our area, but we've got to get those fields built. So if we can take care of what we've got going right now, and then start working on how we can get funding, whether it's in the next round of CIP or where it's at. I don't know where it'll be. But it's imperative to me for us to get this whole facility built. And I don't mean this to sound negative, it probably will, but if you look at the list of all of our projects, our CIP projects, they're all wonderful projects. They're all great projects. But this is the only project that brings in $500 million into the city of Lawton. Nobody comes to Lawton from Ada to see the beautiful streets. I mean, we all appreciate the beautiful streets, but nobody's driving here from Ada to see them. Nobody's driving here from Ada to see the wastewater treatment plant. These are things we have to do, but this is the thing that is going to bring dollars into local businesses and into the city's tax. I mean, we've got to figure out a way to do it, and we've got to take care of what's happening right now. So if we can do that, I'd make a motion that we approve the $40 million for the building and direct staff to find out what we can about the ARPA dollars and where they went and how we can get them.
Okay, we've got a motion on the floor. We do have a second discussion. I'm gonna take the first point of discussion. I just took a picture of this, what you have up here. And I put it in artificial intelligence, and I asked it to compare it to $100,000 jobs. Because what does that mean? We got $500 million over 20 years spent in the economy, but what does it mean? Because we tend to think in terms of jobs created more than we do. That sounds like a lot. It says if we do the whole thing, it's the equivalent of 186 full-time $100,000 jobs annually. If we do the indoor only, it's equivalent to 102 jobs annually. So just kind of interesting information, I think.
Yeah, our friends to the north, Chickasha, right? And if I hear Chickasha one more time, it'll be the gajillionth time I hear Chickasha in this project. Chickasha Envy is my name for this. They have 17,000 people in Chickasha. They have 3 brand new hotels. Mm-hmm. They have a Chick-fil-A. They have a Starbucks. They have an interurban. I don't believe it's because there's 17,000 people in Chickasha, with all due respect to our friends up north.
Okay, Council, I got a little problem. I was asked to take a 5-minute recess because we have some information we need to figure out before we vote. Are you guys okay with that? Okay, we stand in recess.
Bob, you did second. Yes.
Okay, if the council would return to their seats, please. Randy? Okay, we're back in session. I want to read real quick into the minutes, the email that I sent the mayor of Enid, David Mason. I just said, can you please tell me real quick the private donation on the soccer complex? And I have not received a response. Now, I also was handed a note that 3.3 million of the ARPA money went to industrial waterline project and 6.7 million was used on the aquatic center. So I don't know how we're going to deal with that because only 3.3 would be refundable by the TIF. Okay? We can figure that out later. Now we have a motion, probably worthy of you repeating your motion. Do you remember?
Okay. I make a motion that we approve the $40 million that we've spoken about for the building and direct staff to seek out any other funding, whether it be from a past CIP that would apply or any other available funds, and bring that back to council.
Okay, and that was the second.
Yes.
Right, so Mr. Uyghur was the second. Discussion.
Mayor, I'd like to ask you a question.
Yes.
You know, doing things for the children in our city and for the future of our children, and maybe to get my son even moved back a lot, and he's up in Oklahoma City because there's more to do up there. I think that really looking forward, I just want to throw this thought out there that I've just had. You know, down south, I think there's other sports complexes coming up. And when we projected the future, I played the stock market and lost a lot of money projecting. But when you're projecting the future, I just want to make sure that that this $500 million is as sure of a thing as possible. Because there are a lot of other projects that I have in mind. And mind you, I think this is a super wonderful idea, and all that sounds just fantastic. But the only caution that I had is we got to make sure that this is more than speculation. That indeed, we're going to use this because this added money indeed is going to flow. And I think I say this to some citizens that I've been talking to in Ward 5. This is going to add to the growth of our Lawton, because any investment in any projects that we're doing at this time, whether the aquatics and all of the roads we're fixing and everything, is indeed an investment in possibly helping us produce more revenue in the future, whether it's quality of life or anything else. And I just need to make that statement for the Ward 5 citizens, so that I've been talking to you. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, other discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Motion carries 6-1. Motion carries 6-1. Okay? All right, brings up item 5. Receive a presentation on the Propel 2040 Museum of the Great Plains Capital Improvement Project and provide direction to staff as necessary. Mike?
Thank you, sir. The next project we have for you to consider tonight is repairs and renovations at the Museum of the Great Plains. It's approximately a $6 million project and is projected to go over the course of about 12 months. We have a presentation from J.D. Clark, project architect, and the museum staff is on hand to answer questions.
Thanks, Mayor and Council. Really happy to be here again with you guys. It's always a good day in Lawton. We brought this project to you guys about a year and a half ago with a report. And so I just want to run quickly through that report, why we're doing this project, why it's necessary, and then kind of give you an update. We've updated the exterior renderings a little bit. We're at 95% right now on this project as far as construction documents. We're hoping to finish those up at 95% this week, and then finish documents at the end of November. So this is kind of a formal update on the project and where we're at. So you may remember that the building, the outside of the building is leaking everywhere. The walls are leaking, the roof is leaking. Some of it's improper building techniques, some of it is outdated building techniques. And so we've gone through some of the hail damage that happened a couple years ago, made the damage worse, and some of the leaks got a lot worse because of that. It's a laundry list of issues here. Big issues are, we have roof failures because of the hailstorm. We have clear stories that are leaking because they were installed incorrectly. And we have a stucco system that was installed in the 90s, over 30 years ago, that we no longer install it that way, and because it leaks. And so here we are today with solutions to fix all those issues. Some just quick photos of some of those. There's birds nesting in the stucco on the outside of the building because of the holes and stuff that were created from hail and just improper building materials at the time. Mold and stuff growing on the outside of the building because of water infiltration. Interior issues, because we got so much water coming through, we've got water damage to flooring, we've got water damage to ceilings. This also represents a pretty big issue for the museum to actually operate. Besides just having an unhealthy environment, this puts their artifacts at risk. Museums operate at a very controlled air conditioning level, like we're at a certain temperature and a certain humidity. And so with this kind of air infiltration, water infiltration, we're not able to regulate that humidity. And so we're putting all of the artifacts and the museum's items at risk here from future damage and stuff. some of those interior soffits that we have damage on. We've got ceiling tiles that have gotten so wet that they've fallen through in places. And then the last issue is that part of the mechanical system was also not installed per the design. We're missing some components. And so through a list of issues, not only are we not allowed to control the humidity and regulate the temperature correctly because of water and air infiltration, but we're missing some of the necessary requirements to do that even if it was airtight. And the air conditioning systems for the building are past their life expectancy anyways, and they've actually started to fail. So within the last couple of months, we've had a couple systems come down and no longer work. Just some quick shots of some of the equipment up on the roof. Quick summary of the cost of the project. So we would be removing the entire exterior finishes on all the way to the studs on the outside. We would be replacing that with new finishes that match what we're doing at McMahon Auditorium, at the Aquatic Center, and also some of the Elmer Thomas Park projects that we're looking at. We'd put a new roofing system on that would be a much better roof for the future. It's a more compatible roof with municipalities where you're going to be in this building for 40, 50 years. And so in the future, when we have another hailstorm, because we live in Oklahoma and you get hailstorms, we're not replacing the entire roof, we're replacing the membrane with this system. And so we're trying to save future costs by doing it using this system. And then we'd be repairing and replacing damaged interior finishes. So that means all new carpet in the exhibit spaces, new ceiling tiles, and replacing all the damaged sheetrock. We're not going extensive here. We're fixing issues. We're not doing anything extra. We're just basically repairing the building. Bringing up the mechanical systems up to current standards. We're adding insulation to make the building energy efficient. This should give the building a much longer lifespan. We're not just putting lipstick on there and patching a few holes here. We're actually trying to extend the life of this building significantly with these repairs. So there is the bare minimum repairs, but we're also extending the life of the building because we're not just doing patches. This is a holistic approach to this project.
JD, can I just cut in for just a second here? Mayor and Council, so JD's referred to the June 2023 hailstorm on a couple of occasions now. So just know that insurance claim is still pending. So we've been working it for nearly 2.5 years now. So we have retained a forensic roofing expert to help with the claim. So whatever monies that we're able to get through that process can be used to reimburse the CIP.
So, and there's extensive damage from that hailstorm. So, with that all said, total estimated construction costs, that includes our A&E fees and our contingency for construction, which should equal $6 million. The contingency on this project is really vital. We don't want to rob that more so because of what we're doing here. On the interior renovation, we get in there, we think we've identified all the damage, but with this amount of water damage, it may have spread beyond what we can see on the outside when we start demoing some of that. And so we need to make sure that we protect that contingency to make sure that we don't come back to you guys in a couple months saying, well, there's more damage than we expected. That's what we're trying to hope for that contingency to be used for. So we do have it, and that's why we want to maintain it. To perform all this work in the quickest, most cost-effective way, we need the museum to shut down. We need to be able to rip the roof off as quickly as possible and do it all at once. We need to be able to do the exterior walls the same way. And so with doing that, really we can't operate the building during this time. Part of replacing that roof will be removing the air conditioning system off the roof and replacing it. And so there will not be, we can have some air conditioning in the building, we can provide some temporary facilities, but we won't be able to maintain that humidity and control level that they really want. Can't currently meet it, but we're saying it'll be more difficult with the amount of openings and stuff. We are providing a temporary protection layer on the roof when we rip it off so that we're trying to limit future and further damage. during this re-roof process. Protecting in place is not ideal, is what we're trying to say for the artifacts. And that the security, we've got expensive assets that the museum has. Leaving those on site risks damage from contractors and from weather. And so we just need to take that into account. We did not include any moving costs associated though with that $6 million. And so I think that's part of why Bart and his team are back there to help us explain what that was. It's a lapse in my budgeting. I didn't plan for it. I've never actually had to, we weren't sure how much that was going to cost to move a museum of that nature. And we've been exploring that the last couple of months, trying to figure out what that's going to be. So I've got some pretty photos if you guys want to see those. And it's a great looking building. It's going to look really great in the future. You see all the water damage, and it's only getting worse. And so we're trying to get ahead of this and trying to stop more damage.
Do we have an estimate of the moving expense?
I think Bart and his team does. Are you guys going to present after us, or? Okay. They are. They are going to present afterwards. I don't have those.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
Somebody else is presenting. Okay, do we have any questions for JD?
I do.
You do have a question? Mr. Gill?
I did, yes. Just a couple of things I wanted to say. I've been through and all over that building as well as with the mayor. We both had a couple of outings up there. And there is a lot of work to do, and it's absolutely of a necessity that we do that, or it's going to be a lot worse.
Yeah.
And something we do want to preserve, and I don't have a problem with the price. And you brought up the other question I had, and that's about the artifacts inside. And we didn't plan any money for that, and we don't really have a scope as to what that's going to be. And I think that's something we need to get cleared, maybe, and discuss, possibly with the people running the museum. Okay, good, because we need to look at if we can't do that in-house and save that money on.
Yeah.
Other comments, Mr. Epps?
I just want to say that I'm a huge fan of the museum. I think that it is a gem that a lot of people don't realize that we have, and that's speaking from a prior military life, and my kids love going there, so I'm all for this. I do have a question about, I've seen 12 months listed on here. Are you saying it would be closed for those 12 months? Yes, sir. Okay. And is there a economic impact that we need to be aware of? Yes, and I know that the museum guys are going to present that with their, I think you guys are presenting a full, sorry to tell you, we're going to have to, it's two pieces, so. But yes, there's a significant impact on their finances, I think, as well. And it is 12 months of shutdown. So we had a meeting 2 months ago where we had kind of a public meeting. We were talking about what we were planning on doing with their board. And a lot of members from your community came and were really excited, but also really sad to see it closed for 12 months. So,
Mr. Warren?
The city manager answered one of my questions for me. How many square foot is this building?
I've got it listed on my phone. It's hold on, sorry. We are looking at 58,828 square feet is what we've got listed. It's almost 60,000 square feet.
Okay, and I don't have a book to read or anything, but I just want to use this as an example. Sadly, I was here when that all started, when we built the new museum, and it's a good example of we should never have done that. We should have built a museum. We tagged onto that building that was not in good shape. And so that's a good example of why we don't want to do that anymore. Now, you know, this is kind of a different situation than the library, but I think it's important to think about the fact that we're looking at $6.5 million probably. We can build one for $29 million.
Probably closer to 36 or 40. Just,
Well, I was looking,
museum quality space
yeah, I was
is
looking
a little
at-
bit more expensive.
yeah, the average is like $500 a square foot for museums.
Yeah, I would guess closer to 6 to, sorry.
Actually, it's 4 to 6 is what it is.
Okay, Mr. Uyghur, I see your finger on the light. No?
I got no question.
Okay. Everybody else? Okay, we're ready for the next presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, JD. Hi, Rhonda.
Hi there. Okay. We've done some extensive research, and I think we'll be able to answer some of the additional questions that you all have just asked. Thank you all for letting us address the council, and it's good to see you all again. We're happy to present some of this information, but I have to be coached. So this is part of what we want to present today, kind of what our staff looks like, what our budget looks like, what's the cost of temporarily moving, and then the opportunities that this remodel gives the museum and our great city when we get this completed. Currently, we have 9 full-time staff, 5 part-time staff, with a total payroll of almost $500,000. Got a couple of items offline, sorry about that. The budget that ended June of 2025, these are our sources of income. The city graciously has helped fund with $570,000. We have admissions of about 30,000 visitors a year for $132,000. The gift shop net sales, and I put that word in there as net because we have to buy items that we sell, so this is the net after the end, $37,000 worth of income. Memberships, $21,227. Our facility use, that's rental and what we bring in for people to use the museum, about $19,000. Then our expenses, of course, our main expense is salary and payroll at that about $495,000. Property insurance is about $17,000. We have to buy supplies, we have to buy equipment, we do training of our wonderful staff so that they stay up to date on things. We host special events like the one held a few weeks ago with the Trading Post that several of you all came to, and advertising and promotion. That's just kind of a small segment of what our expenses and income are so that you kind of see where our money is. Then, we have an operating budget of $969,000, of which the city has graciously supported with about $570,000. Right now, with our funding, right now, today, we're at a deficit of almost $400,000. So what do we have to do? We have to come up with some more support for this year. Then we have to find other sources of primary funding with our sales, so that's something we'll lose when we close. Admissions will lose, memberships, and our facility use fees. So that deficit, we're gonna have to find a way to help to keep some things going. Cuts to the multiple line items that we know that we targeted and looked at, it's about $126,000. So that's kind of where we are, so we bring that deficit down to a little over $250,000. So now, what's it cost to move? This was a shock, quite a shock for us to find quality, approved movers that can help us. I'm gonna let I'm gonna let Bart talk to this just a little bit because he's been the main source behind this on how we've gotten our quotes and what our quotes mean.
Hello, good evening. You can see there we've got 2 quotes so far, one from MMD Services of Dallas. They're coming in at about $1.28 million. The reason there's an asterisk following that is them being on site about 2 weeks, about 2 weeks of each month with us assisting them a great deal. And they're coming up with $1.28 million. Crozier, and I expect US Art when we get their bid, are turnkey estimates. So they would come in, they have professional staff,
They would do the packing themselves. We would assist them, but by and large, they're doing the bulk of the work. I wanted you to see that difference because MMD Services doing part of the work is already at 1.28 million. Someone like Crozier doing the work at 1.54. I'm expecting US Art will come in about the same as Crozier. We also have JK Moving Services, which JD Clark referred to us, and we're waiting for an estimate from them, which we have not yet received. So at this point, we have 2 estimates in hand. We're waiting for 2 additional estimates.
Council, do you have questions?
I have one quick.
Yes.
Do those estimates include storage facility?
Our current plan is to use space in Vista that would be made available to us. So we would basically pack up everything at the museum. They would move it to the mall where it would mostly remain packed. And then this price does include returning it to the museum at the end of the project.
There's no storage fee.
I believe
There
would
is
be-
storage fee. Rhonda's shaking her head yes.
We would be paying some amount while we are at Vista.
And that's in the budget you presented.
That's part of this, we'll have to pay that additionally. The storage fee we'll have to pay additionally.
And where are you getting that money?
We're gonna try to figure out where to get it.
Okay, we've already got a $1.28 million surprise, plus I think if we go back, if I understood some of those other numbers were about 250,000 on top of that. And so we're gonna be storage fees on top of that, is that right?
Storage fees should be about between $450 and $570 a square foot. So we will offset a few things to help pay for that, but we're gonna,
And is that a one-time fee?
it's a yearly fee.
Mayor Booker, I just got clarification that it's not a storage fee that would be charged, it's just utilities.
Utility fee.
Utility fee. Okay, Mr. Hampton.
Yeah, I'm assuming that when you unpack all of this and put it back, that it's gonna be needed to do, there's some strategy in putting the displays and everything back. Is that part of this, this cost there, or do you guys, I mean, how does that facilitate? They're gonna bring this stuff back over and then you guys will put the museum back together on salaried employees?
Yes,
Is that the cost?
and that's part of what we would like to say is an opportunity of what we're gonna do while we're shut down, is use some of our time and to do things. This is, up here is a part of what we have now in our collection, what all is there. And you can see the depth, you just look like you're looking into infinity.
Yeah,
on
it's
there.
all cataloged, I'm sure it's all cataloged, but
It's all catalog, but we're hoping to enhance that. So we do some online cataloging where you can see some online displays and use our time to digitize things.
Oh, wonderful. Well, yeah, that would definitely be a good time to do that. But is there any added cost other than salary to get that back together, the museum back together when the packers bring the stuff back? I mean, I'm trying to visualize.
It's gonna be some cost, but we've got staff that'll be on hand to do a lot of that. And the movers are gonna bring it back. We're hoping to enhance that space. with
It'll all
some-
be in-house, basically?
All in-house.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yes, Mr. Gill.
We're going to need a number to make a motion to whatever we're going to do, if we do. So we're trying to put a number together, and so we're going to do an estimate on the utilities. I never heard a price on that. We have to pay utility cost at Vista, so is that 1,000 or 10,000, or do we have an idea? I mean, right now, we want to try to help the museum, but we need some figures.
Yeah, we're looking at the 1.6 to add to our budget, just to help us move. We'd like to get that down. You know, the utilities are looking at about 50,000, to do that. So, you know, we're pushing 1.7.
Explain how you're gonna charge for this.
So we are not going to charge any rent. The utility fee that we're estimating, roughly, it ranges between $4.50 and $5 a square foot. So it depends on how much space the museum needs. Obviously, we're a committed partner to them. And so depending on the size of the space they select, it needs to be climate controlled to protect the artifacts. And so that's a direct pass-through cost with no gross revenue.
Okay, well, we can figure this out real quick. $5 foot times how many feet?
So one of the earliest calculations, yeah, was 13,000. So 13,000 times what, 5,000 times 5. So we're looking roughly $65,000, 65,000 to 80,000. Because one of the other considerations too, as you can see in the pictures, that many of the artifacts are on storage racks. Those racks can stay; they don't have to be moved, and it's actually cheaper to buy additional racks that could be used. So an additional $80,000 for the storage of the racks on top of the moving costs is what we'd be looking for in order to move the artifacts completely out. There's some additional slides that they have here. If you're looking on your screen, there to the left, they have nearly half a mammoth in the artifacts, as well as different catalogs of the Lawton Constitution going back to, what's that? Going back to the 19 into the teens. This is one of the things is you can see that, there are boxes, but these are things that are stored in boxes that are meant to go from a shelf onto a display shelf, not onto a shelf, onto a moving truck, into a mall, back onto a truck, back to a space. So even though each one of these may look like they're all coated in boxes already, which is what I thought when I first went to the museum, they're all being stored there to be put on display, not to travel. So each individual item actually gets wrapped by these professionals, which is one of the reasons that we're looking at the costs. Some of the larger items we would be looking at, how do we store those in place? That is one of the things, also discussion with Crozier, that these professionals know how to move these items. In addition to the space, they have, the National Collections, if you want to talk about that, and actually they prefer to have those moved versus on site. Bart or Ian?
We're a repository for the Bureau of Reclamation. They have a small collection in the museum, which, considering the conditions during the renovation, they've asked us to remove them from the site. But I do believe at this point we're talking about removing the entire collection from the site to FISTA.
So the request I believe that we're looking at from Ron, if you want to come up, is looking in Bart, but looking at in addition to the $6 million that was really budgeted for the renovations, would be about 1.8 in order to ensure these priceless artifacts stay taken care of. If you think about doing a renovation at your house, if you have your electronics, you have that heirloom furniture, are you going to leave that in place while they come in and work on your house? Or are you going to protect it, put it into storage? And that's what we're asking is with these artifacts.
Okay, and that was real easy, Jason, thank you. But the challenge for us is that's about a 23% increase over what we budgeted, which creates a tremendous problem. I wish we had a policy that made sure the scope that we had included everything. It's impossible to budget when we don't get all of the information. Thank you, though. Rhonda.
Mayor, can I
Yes,
ask you a
absolutely.
question? We are expecting the insurance money from the hailstorm, estimate somewhere between $500,000 and $1 million. So we would have that money that we could apply to what we're talking about right here.
Thank you. Mr. Warner?
I have that policy actually that I can bring to council at one of the next meetings.
Okay.
I
guess that means you had the same concern.
Yeah, I did, because it's kind of what we're seeing, and I don't mean anything nefarious about it, but it's like suddenly there's money and now everybody wants $2 million extra. And we got to figure out a way to keep that A from happening and B from building a gauntlet so that what does get funded at the end of it is appropriate. But I would throw out there, just because I feel like I need to at this point, what if, this is a what if we only moved a lot of that stuff once? What if we moved it to the FISTA and made it part of FISI and only moved part of it back to the museum and left a lot of the storage and stuff. I mean, it's a thought. I think it would be appropriate for the FISI also. I mean, there's a lot of hands-on stuff that y'all have at the library that would, I mean, at the museum that would work good at the new facility. I'm just throwing it out there.
When the project was started and the discussion on what needed to be done, we had no clue with working with the architect what it was going to cost to totally move out of the facility. And that is not something that most of us in the room can sit and pack up collections and archives in the proper way to preserve things. So it was very much a shock when the first bid came in, and then when we went back to the architecture firm and said, this is what it's going to cost, where is this in the budget and the bidding? That's not there. And it's concerning because if we continue to let the building decline like it is now, our city has lost a lot.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's talking about that at all. Blaine?
Well, it's just that you spoke earlier about a Band-Aid, another project, put a Band-Aid on it. And this sounds like it needs the ultimate Band-Aid because the costs just continue to increase the more we discover. I guess my question is, can we get to a place where we really know what we're dealing with dollar-wise? Is it $7 million? Is it $10 million?
I think that the architecture firm has done a little more investigating, a lot more investigating, and they've come up with some better ideas on things to help us so that we can be moving out while they're starting the work, so some of our close time is less, where we can start regenerating revenue. But here again, until they start, you want to address it, JD?
We've looked at a couple different ways we're doing this roof system and some of the demo so that we're not, because it takes almost 6 months, 4 to 6 months for them to pack up their archives. And so our plan as of today is to, while they're packing up, we're starting to do some of this demo and repair. And while we're doing that, while we're demoing, we're going to be repairing in a way that is a temporary fix but prevents any more water infiltration so that they can continue and be in a safe deal. We'll provide some temporary air conditioning, but it's not a long-term solution. So we're trying to mitigate, instead of it being an 18-month closure, we've modified some of the construction methods that we're utilizing to help limit some of that cost. And we've been going back to the drawing board trying to make sure that we're staying on budget, we're saving money on things that we're doing this whole time. We're not, oh, we got a blank check. We've been constantly looking at ways that we can reduce costs. This is just an area of the project that we didn't account for. Early in the project, we didn't have any idea that it was going to be, I mean, I don't think anyone here would be like, oh yeah, it cost $1.6 million to move a museum. I mean, it was not on my radar that it would be that much. I was thinking $200,000, $200,000 or $300,000 just in the back of my head. If you ask me, that's what I would think it would be cost. But obviously, I'm wrong. I don't move museums for a living.
Well, council, we obviously have got to do this, and I don't think anybody likes the extra numbers that have been thrown into it. But it sounds to me like we're being asked to approve the $6 million plus 1.8 for the movie storage and utilities. Did I get it right?
Pretty close, yes.
And so we can discuss it all day, but we don't really have much of a choice to get this done. We have a motion to approve the 7.8, correct? Hold on just a minute. I got a motion on the floor. Is there a second? We do have a second. Dwayne?
So just a point of clarification, anything that you add to the budget would be supplemental funding in this next round of financing. The $6 million is already on the books for the project, so you'd be approving additional supplemental funding to support the project.
If we don't spend the money, that's fine.
You have 6 million budgeted under the existing loan, the previous loan for this project that's already been approved. This would be contingency funding or supplemental funding that would be allocated towards the same project.
So you're telling me we can't do that until, can we do that at this meeting?
You can do that just through direction. If that's what you want, we'll include it in the note that you'll be considering tomorrow. and
Okay.
authorize.
All right. We have a motion and a second discussion.
Yeah,
Mr. Hampton.
This question is for John on the insurance money that Linda had brought up. Once that insurance money is procured, can it go towards this, the cost, the additional 1.8?
Yeah, I think there's some flexibility there. If we're using CIP money to repair the roof, I think that that's possible.
And is there an estimated timeline as to when that might come in, or?
Well, we're 2.5 years into it. The insurance company is kind of,
Yeah, I understand.
you know, they've been contesting this thing tooth and nail for the entire time. So I think we're getting closer, but I would be very hesitant to get a timeline.
Okay. All right, thanks, John.
Mr. Gill.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to amend my motion to have it read that whatever monies we get back on the insurance, that it will go towards this particular project, whatever it is.
Rather than reimburse the CIP.
Or, yes.
That's a yes.
Yes.
Mr. Epps, are you the second one? Do you agree with that, to amend the motion? Okay, so we have a motion and a second, Mr. Warren.
I just have a quick question.
How many square foot of the Fister do y'all need?
13,000.
Are you
Councilman
good?
Warren,
Okay, are we ready?
Okay, no, we're good.
Are we ready to vote? Let's vote.
Can I ask for clarification on the motion real quick?
Hold on just a minute. Did you have a question, Mr. Epps?
I did, and I don't know who to direct this to. I kind of feel like Jason, just because you've made some miracles happen in the past. Have we sought any state or federal funds or grants for this type of project? It just seems like this would be something that would fall right in line with.
Mr. Epps, are you talking about the moving part of the project or which part?
Really any part, but I guess it would be applicable to the work that has to, the construction work that has to be done.
To start some grant processes with some of the larger grant funding, we're a little bit behind on where we're going, but we're looking at going into some grant funding for enhancing some of the other projects that are already in place to complete, so that we maybe free up some other monies that might have been budgeted for things like restoring the engine, and to restoring some of the other projects that are going on, and enhancing the other displays when we open back up. Does that answer?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so clarification of the motion is approve 7.8 million and proceeding with bids.
No, yeah, it is. So
We're ready to go to bids after the end of November, right?
Yes.
Okay, and to be reimbursed, insurance proceeds go back to pay back. Now, did I get that right?
You did, you did.
Does that motion get us where we need to be?
Do you understand that, John? Yeah, just taking that money back and reimburse that, whatever.
Well, you're using that money to reimburse the move, not to reimburse the CIP.
Well, if you're borrowing money from the CIP to do the move, then it's a moot point. But
Well, the money that we're borrowing is for the museum renovation. We're not borrowing money for the move. So,
where are you getting the 1.8?
well, that's what I'm trying to clarify. So the 5 million that is part of the note is for the museum renovation. So if you're telling me that to take whatever insurance proceeds are, I just don't understand what you're telling me to do with the insurance proceeds.
Here's what it is. 6 million that was budgeted in the CIP. 1.8 from the contingency in the CIP to be reimbursed by the insurance proceeds
Okay.
as much as possible. Now, did you get everything you want on that, Mr. Byrd?
The 1.8, does that include the storage costs associated with storing the artifacts?
It includes all of those other things besides the original budget number, the moving, the storage, the utilities, and it sounds like you were buying a little equipment.
That's how we got the 1.8 for storage and the utilities.
You got the, is that motion get you proceeding? Okay, please vote.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. I look forward to the reopening party. We are going to have a party, right? Okay, and I appreciate the positive leadership at the museum. Thank you guys so much. All right, let's move on to item 6. Receive a presentation regarding Phase 3 of park improvements as part of the Propel 2040 Capital Improvements Program, CIP, and provide direction to staff as necessary.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council. I'm excited to be here this evening to help present our project regarding Phase 3 park improvements as part of Propel 2040 CIP. Also to receive any guidance or direction council deems necessary. As part of the Propel 2040 CIP program, Phase 3 of park improvements will continue the city's commitment to improvements and long-term sustainability of Lawton public parks and recreation spaces. In addition to the city's Propel 2040 investment, and that's what this is, it's a $2 million investment, the Lawton Parks and Rec Department was recently awarded a $738,406 Healthy Kids Initiative grant through Play and Park Structures to help offset costs and expand play opportunities for children of all ages and abilities. These funds may be used through February 27th of 26, okay? With council's approval, this grant opportunity will maximize the total investment of Lawton's park system and ensure successful project completion. Phase 3, this project of Phase 3 park improvement is already aligned with the council's vision under Propel 2040 CIP. And that vision was to reinvest in public spaces that support recreation, connectivity, and the overall quality of life for our Lawton residents. So I'm very excited to be here to present that, to help present that. I do have the Deputy Director of Parks and Rec, Mr. Kelvin Ingram, who's going to come up here in a few minutes. But I will start with the slides and, you know, our agenda. This should be fairly quick. Okay, a quick update on where we're at. Okay, I can tell you right now, the completion date that you see up there for October 25 has all moved into November. And as they did on the first 2 rounds, or the first round of park improvements, they completed everything in November. So I am confident that we will make that goal of November with the completion of these 9 parks. Again, we went through, we initially identified 32 parks, and this round would complete 25 parks. The remaining 7 parks in our long-term strategic park improvement plan would be a hybrid improvement. What that means is you will get 1 or 2 parks a year with complete park unit replacement as we are doing now. The others would be park improvements. Certain areas of the park get improved. As you know, most of our play units were old, but the last 7, some of the last 7, we can move parts and things because we can still get parts for them.
to improve them, and we will do that. The other, we will return to green spaces and create tranquil parks where people can rest and relax. Also, we will improve the parking lots. We will improve the trails for our bikes and all other sorts of recreation, plant trees, all of that stuff. With that being said, this begins the round of park improvements. As you can see in Ward 1, this is Stevens Park off of 1804 Northwest 23rd. The capacity there and the grant savings on the bottom. That price of $278, $357.74 does not include the grant. Okay? You will see that on the last slide. Ward 2, Kathy Newton Park. It is a very large play unit. Grant savings on the bottom, initial price up top. Patriot Park, Ward 3. What you see in the photos is exactly what you get. Eastside Park. This is another large unit. Harmon Park. Great Plains. Sullivan Village. Putney Park. Lee West. Lee West, you see in the photo, is already approved. The play unit is in. The sidewalk around the play unit is in. We are waiting on the pour-and-play surfacing. With that pour-and-play surfacing, it will complete that build. I put this on here because we wanted to do, in conjunction with this, a splash pad. Because if you recall, council asked us to bring this back, but I believe council wanted the Buick and not the Rolls Royce. So right now, we can give you the Buick. We have the crew on the ground and they are ready to move forward with it. As you can see, that play unit is the Thunder theme based upon Thunder Court that is there and the long-term design of that park. We do have other plans to scratch in a temporary parking lot and do some stuff there. That is coming. So. But this was in conjunction with everything else that we have planned. Okay, the cost. It all boils down to cost. The top left quadrant of the slide, that's the total cost without the grant. The top right quadrant, the grant is included. The Lee West splash pad is included in the center, the lower center. So the total is $2.248,75582. With that being said, I'll take questions.
Okay, those numbers went by me real quick, but I calculated about 35% grants. Is that right?
That is correct, sir.
That is amazing. I appreciate you and your staff so much extending our money, the citizens' money, to get more bang for the buck. Thank you for doing that. Council comments or yes, Mr. Warren?
I just had a quick question about, not my ward, I believe it's Councilman Hampton's. We had talked about putting a splash pad directly to the east of the parking lot at the municipal pool on 11. Are we still? Yes, sir. Looking at doing that? That's part of the strategic long-term hybrid plan. Okay, just want to make sure.
So what are you looking for here? A motion to proceed based upon the
Yes, sir.
presentation?
Yes, sir.
We have a motion, we have a second discussion. Oh, Mr. Hampton, I'm sorry.
No, I just wanted to comment, Ward 5 is challenged somewhat with lower economic families. And already, Larry, that Union Park, I've seen huge birthday celebrations that they're holding at the park now. And I want to say that that's a commitment to you and your staff. Take care of that. We appreciate that in Ward 5.
Yes, sir.
Please vote.
Deputy Director.
Motion carries 7-0, bringing up item 7, receive a presentation from C.H. Guernsey and Company regarding the Elmer Thomas Park Amphitheater and Boardwalk Project, PR 2308, to include proposed project design and scope of work and determine whether to proceed with a phased project approach or full project execution and take action as deemed necessary. Mike.
Thank you, sir. This next project we're excited to bring to you. I think most of you are familiar with it. This will turn Elmer Thomas Park into truly a landmark project, property for the city of Lott. It's a multifaceted project. Again, we have J.D. Clark to present to you, and Parks and Rec staff for any other questions that might be. Thank you.
Mayor and council, it's an honor to present this project to you guys. I'm really excited about it. I know we're looking at some phased options. We have 2 in here. We can scale things back and forth to accommodate what we can afford. I understand that. We've got a couple options in there to look at some additional funding that we just kind of started looking at, so we don't have the numbers yet for you. And I don't know, we won't have a confirmation on those funding options until January. So, but with that said, we'll go ahead and present the project where we're at today. Parks matter. I mean, stuff they're doing with these parks is fantastic. This is, you know, your big central park for the city. Everything from everyone in your community uses parks. It's not for just little kids. It's not for the elderly. Every single person in your community uses parks. And this park, and what we're doing in this park, is for everybody. There's not an element in there that's like, well, this is really geared towards one type of person in your community. Everyone in this park, everyone in your community can use this. It improves the health of your community. It improves the environment of your community. It enhances, you know, your community and everybody reaching out. It creates a space for you guys together. And then just the nature in general is just, we're going to improve it, and we're going to make it more accessible for the rest of everyone, all your citizens. So, area of focus is mostly around Lake Helen. We're looking at, there's a drainage swell on the other side of the 2 playgrounds, and then we're also looking at the amphitheater area, a small area between the 3rd Street and the Aquatic Center. It's not on our map yet. We need to get Google to go ahead and update that so we can see it on there. And then a parking lot area also. Got a little bit of cropped here, but as you can see, we're doing a lot on this park. We've updated some things. We've expanded some areas. We had the honor of being out there for Freedom Festival, and you know, some things we had to modify. We looked at your food truck area at first, and we were talking with Jason and some of your staff, and we originally had spots for 10. That's not enough. You guys actually have 40 food trucks out there with another 10 vendors, and so we came up with an alternate plan of utilizing parts of 3rd Street, utilizing the existing parking lot for vendor space, and modifying some stuff along those lines to make sure that we accomplish the goals of what you guys set out to do. And so there's some modifications on that. We've scaled some things back, trying to reduce some costs, and we've changed the way we're building a few things in that same deal. So, new features that we've added since the last time you've seen it, we've added a couple additional boat docks. We've moved the boat ramp from over on the northwest corner of the lake over to the southwest corner of the lake into a deeper area. That way it can be monitored a little bit more by the boathouse rentals and so on. Other than that, it's mostly stayed the same. There's been a little bit of development up in the northwest corner. Our pedestrian bridges up there got a little bit longer. When we got a survey, the wetland area was bigger than what we anticipated it to be, so we had to make it a little bit bigger if we keep those bridges over there. We've still got a fitness tower. We reduced the height a little bit to save some costs on just building height, and then also keep it from having to be fire sprinkled and some other things. So, just a quick overall rendering of that from the aerial view. nighttime rendering. We've integrated a lot of lighting into this project, so at night we'll have the opportunity in a lot of different areas to change the colors of lights for events, and that can be sequenced on the bridge and at the sculpture, and in a couple areas the auditorium area or the amphitheater area can be color changed as well, and there's some other color changing elements across the big monument sign that's over on Cash Road. It's you gotta remember it's kind of three sides, and it's facing I-44, people coming down Cash Road and the park. Those letters can color change, and so you guys can go festive red, white, and blue. You know, anything you want to do on that. On the amphitheater area, we've got a terraced amphitheater. We've done natural stone retaining walls to help save some money there. Those are the big, huge limestone blocks. That'll be really cool. It's a little cheaper than doing concrete retaining walls, and it brings a nice natural feel to the park. Up at the plaza area, we've got some colored coatings that are non-slip, because we've got some integrated splash pad features to help reduce costs. This is not your splash pad for all the kids to play in. They can play in it, but this is more of a, you know, there's some lights integrated with the splash pad to create kind of an atmosphere and an event. And also there's like some misting that can happen on some ends so that we can actually cool that area and create a cooling effect with the mist. Over to the side of the amphitheater, we've got the food truck plaza with spaces for, I think, 10 right now. So just in a normal event, you can have 10 food trucks over there. We've got spaces down the street and in the parking lot across the street so that we can actually get 40. And so during an event, you would have food trucks on the south side of 3rd Street lining that so that people can go out from the plaza. This really creates a hub around that amphitheater as a main element, an event space for destination events. I mean, you guys can host some really fantastic performances there. We've got seating capacity in there for around 6,500 people, just in the amphitheater. We've got a ticket and concession building with the ability to serve food and stuff from that concession and be catered in. We've got restrooms. We've talked about not meeting the full need of the restrooms for that facility because we would have a restroom building that would be 3 times the size. And so we're going to be bringing off-site facilities for the big events, portable toilets and such for that. The boathouse, which I'm going to mention it here just because it's close, that can also serve as a VIP area for special events so that when you guys have these special events, you guys can have, there's 2 restrooms back there, there's a small catering kitchen, there's tables and chairs that are covered. It creates a nice area for that as well. And then we've got 2 dedicated parking lots there that we're adding as well. These are nice paved parking lots. Currently, one of those areas that we're kind of looking at, the food truck area in the parking lot, is kind of paved, but it's not really it's not really accessible. This makes it a much more usable parking lot. We've created speed humps, crossings that cross 3rd Street and cross that little side street there. That helps delineate where our pedestrians are crossing for safe crossings, so that we're trying to be mindful of that. It's not really represented here well, but we've actually integrated like red, white, blue marking on the crosswalks. So you've got these patterns. So it's kind of a nice throw to Fort Sill, being patriotic, and also it's a nice little bit of color instead of just having a white crosswalk. This helps throw in a little something without actually adding a ton of cost. We've incorporated a lot of landscaping, screening on the project, and then we're also redoing a bunch of the utilities in this area as well. When we got into this project and we got the survey and everything, the road segment between 3rd Street and the parking lot down there, it was determined that it wasn't quite sufficient to handle the load of parking and some of the turn radiuses that we needed, so we are repaving that section of road. That was some additional costs that we weren't planning on, and so there's a little bit of overage, and that's part of that. But really excited about this part of the project. Really excited about the whole project. So but that's the amphitheater portion of it. Some of the images that we showed you guys early on, and some of the deal, we are doing go ahead and skip to the plaza. We are doing a plaza area. You can see that we've kind of got that integrated colors. You can see those limestone benches. They've integrated up in this area, and that's actually using as the retaining walls down below. We've got a trellis element up there to help provide some shade, and those are planters to grow some plants in. And then down on the stage area, we've got a large stage. We've worked with McNann Foundation to discuss how they operate this, making sure that we have a facility that can work for your community and work for events and provide the infrastructure, but without going excessive. And so we provided a canopy there that can support rigging. This is slightly larger than Scissortail Park's stage and shell. So just a little bit bigger, a little bit wider. This is something we worked with some of your event people and figuring out what size we needed, make sure that we sized it appropriately. The little storage building over the side has got all our storage equipment for the facility. It's got our big, large electrical room, basically a control brain for the whole amphitheater area. And then we've got a paved area down low, that kind of that VIP area that for small events you can put in chairs and have a nice, smaller performance. And then kind of the nighttime look through, or still got the fireworks going back there in the back. So our quick shot of our ticket building, this probably looks a little familiar. We're trying to create that same identity across the park. This looks very similar to the aquatics building. It's because it is. I mean, we're trying to create a nice, unique, holistic approach to this project. And so this building is mirrored to that. We know how we've worked out any kinks on the building. We didn't have many to begin with, but this building will be great. It'll be simple, bulletproof. And then we got down to our boardwalk southwest plan. Down here we've reduced the area of the boardwalk a little bit to accommodate the boat ramp and help mitigate some costs. We've got a boat dock that's associated with the boat ramp. And then we've got, so people can unload their boats, pull the car around so they can go store it at the boat ramp or the boat dock and then go and get on there. We've got a boat rental boat dock over there. And then there's a big square on the other end that we can use for small performances. So that perimeter of that kind of cove boardwalk there is terraced a little bit. There's three levels to it. So we can sit in those terraces and watch a small performance out there on the dock. And then we've got a bunch of seating around the boathouse up there. Back behind the boathouse, we have a ramp that goes up to the pedestrian bridge that crosses, and then on the other side of that ramp, we've got more boardwalk. The northwest boardwalk is mostly just boardwalk. It's just space for us to enjoy the lake. There's several covered areas. There's different little jetties where we can go out and enjoy the water. You can fish from. There's seating at all of those jetties. We've created a couple little areas where we can do small performances down there, or small little events can be hosted. We've salvaged as many trees over in this area as we could during this. So we've got 3 trees down at the water that we're salvaging that we made the boardwalk go around. We've got one right there in the middle. And so it's hard to replace trees that are big. And so if we can keep those trees, it'll help us in the long run, make it look like it's always been there and help. We've got a lot of landscaping, a lot of xeriscaping, which is low water maintenance, low maintenance in general, a lot of rock beds, dry creek bed looks, and so it should be an easy, maintainable facility for you guys. Waterfall trail was something that at the study, we were kind of thrown at the last second, and we've had some time to develop it. As you can see, there's a few plants around it. We've combined this waterfall trail with that adventure trail combination. And so there's areas where you can venture off of the path down into this adventure trail through the trees and the plants, cross the creek a couple different places. And so there's this a little bit of a fun kind of hidden trail that kids are supposed to go down, people are supposed to go down. We've integrated, so this existing playground that you guys just finished is there in the corner. It's kind of that gray area. And so if you guys remember, that's a big slope coming down. We've got an area where we've integrated 2 slides over there with a rock scramble. So there's slides that go down the hill, and then there's big rocks that kids can climb back up and go back down the slides. And so it'll be a kind of a fun little, it comes off with that adventure trail. And so it's one of those fun integrated things. It's just a little bit risky. Like, it's not dangerous, but you know, kids need to have a little bit of adventure. It's good for them. So we've got 2 waterfalls at the top. They're about 3.5, 4 feet tall each, and you walk between them. There's a trail that goes between those over the water, so you get to kind of experience that. We're reutilizing runoff from the park is going to come into there. We're supplementing any additional water we need from the lake, and so if we have a big rain event, it'll bypass through the creek and go out into the lake, and then we have pumps that feed the waterfall from the lake. And then the splash pads that we have currently is going to feed into this as well. And so we'll have splash pad going in. Pretty excited about this little addition that we've got, but a lot of stuff going into that one little bit smaller area. So, and then little circle up there is also a small little meeting area, so we can have small little events. You know, with the amount of landscaping we're talking about, you might have small little wedding ceremonies, or who knows. It's an opportunity for you guys to rent that space out if you guys so choose. Some of the images that we talked about when we were talking about some of the signage, some of the paving, we've integrated quite a bit of textures and stuff and different materials into this from these images that we showed you guys, some of the design elements. The hillocks are in. We've got them between the bike trail and the amphitheater area, so kind of a buffer between the kids area, the play area, going down to the boardwalk. So, and then we've created a bunch of these alcoves also throughout the park. Now the pedestrian bridge rendering. So we've got this pedestrian bridge. We've got some jetties that come off of it for fishing or sitting and relaxing. We've got the main trail covered and trellised. And then you get out on the jetties where you can cast a rod and fish from if you wanted to. We're building this out of Core 10, which is that rusty steel. This is a great material for this. It's low maintenance, it's cost effective. And then we have a concrete deck on there. And we've got some raised planters that are actually benches. And so we'll have a little bit of green space out there. Should be a very nice, low maintenance, we're thinking native, low maintenance, low water plants out there. And then a little view back at that boathouse. It's similar to our other buildings that we have out there in the park with the brick and the same forms. We've got boat rentals on this end. On the other end, we have a concession or a catering kitchen that you guys can access. And then we have boat storage for off-season. And then we have our boat ramp down there, or our boat dock down there. Our big sculpture out there, we've got lights that are engraved that'll shine up on each blade, and those are not color changing. It gives a nice animation to the thing without having to actually make it move. And then the water, these grades aren't quite right. We'll actually have rocks that come up almost to the top of that level, so there's not a cliff that drops off there, so and it'll grade down to the water. And then the lot and sign back there behind. We've picked some colors, but you know, like I said earlier, that's color changing, and so we can pick any colors. Those are about, I think, 12 to 15 feet tall, if I remember off the top of my head. And then we've built that element up on a hill. We've actually added about 6 feet of earth to raise that up so that we make sure that we get good appearance from everywhere. And then part of that boardwalk, we've got a little bit more refined. We've got some shade structures with little alcove seatings. We've got walls that become benches, pathways, and integrated, down lower, we've got actual wood boardwalk. To the very side here is that natural area where we've actually salvaged a couple of those trees. Those are existing trees in that area. So this is kind of that small area where we could have small performances there. We're kind of seeing it off to the side. And then we've got some of those big, large stone limestone beams that we're using as just walls. Is there a nice cost-effective way to build a wall fairly cheap? We just got to put a foundation under them and then they stack them up basically. Our observation tower changed a little bit from you guys' direction. You guys asked us to remove we had some solid walls on some sides, and so for security reasons, we've removed that. It's made out of Corten again, and then we've got some perforated hills and then a nice viewing platform at the top. We think it's pretty fun and dynamic out there, and should be a pretty iconic piece for the park. And then just a quick view, we're up there at the observation tower, the fitness tower, sorry. That had it there. It's a fitness tower. We've got pretty great views. You can see pretty far. Just for reference, if you guys been up to the slide complex at the aquatic center, that's I think 23 feet or so. This is 55 feet tall, so we're twice as high. So we should have you get pretty good views from the slide complex at the aquatic center. This should be even better. Our conceptual schedule right now is, our goal has been to open for June Freedom Festival 2027. We're wrapping up construction documents right now. We should be done at the end of November. Permitting and bidding, we're looking at doing that out in December. Reviewing and awarding bids in January, and starting construction in February, and that would run for 16 months, the whole project. This is the bad news. Right now, we're looking at total project cost is $39,700,000. That's construction cost plus the owner's contingency with testing. Some things that have gone over, some of the cost increases, some of the repaving that we were doing that we weren't planning on originally doing. The length of the small pedestrian bridge has doubled in size. There's been an increase in the amount of utilities that we're doing. And then our soils condition, we were basing our initial soils off of the aquatic center's geotech. Our soils are actually worse down where we're building. And so our foundations got heavier and bigger. And there's not a lot we can do on our foundation costs. I mean, we try to mitigate that with some of our walls and stuff, but we're looking at close to about a $4 million over from what we presented last, I think, January. We have already looked at some cost reductions. We've done those elements. Those aren't things that we've willy-nilly like, well, we could do these. We went ahead and taken the initiative and reduced some costs where we could. We've changed a few things. We've reduced some things that we can do. And there's still some stuff we can look at, but we're getting down to pretty big elements if we want to cut it out. We were asked to look at a couple of phases. So overall, we're looking at almost $40 million. We're looking at what would be the easy way to phase this project. Bang for your buck. We think the area around the lake is the big bang for your buck, and for sequencing. If we do that first, it's not in the way of doing the amphitheater. If we do the amphitheater first, it's kind of in the way of us doing some of the elements down at the lake, and it makes it more difficult. It's not impossible, but it makes it more difficult. And so the cost would be increased for phase 2 just from a difficulty standpoint, not from a delayed or anything like that. So we're looking at right now, if we did everything in phase 1, that is all the site work, including the dredging, demolition, general conditions, our bike trail, site utilities, large pedestrian bridge, boardwalk, boathouse, sculpture, fitness tower, small bridge, the docks, and the waterfall. We're looking at a construction cost of 22.4 and a contingency of 2.2, bringing us up to, math's a little off there, it should be 24.6 for that cost. There's some items that we could use to reduce the cost. Our sculpture is almost $1 million. That includes foundation and all of that. We could eliminate that element. The fitness tower is about 1.7, 1.8. And then the small bridges, there is a path we could do with some sidewalks to eliminate the need for those two small bridges, and we could save $400,000. It'd be increasing the length of the path. It's not a big deal. There would be a low water crossing, which means that in flood events, that sidewalk would be underwater. And there's some maintenance associated with that cost. You know, with having a sidewalk that could potentially go underwater every once in a while, there'd be some cleanup debris after big rain events. But we could eliminate those bridges, and then the monument sign in that area, if we eliminated that, that would also be another 400,000. So we could get it down to 21 million, including the contingency, if we deducted those elements.
Okay, I think I understand. The top is 24, the ones in red are included in it. If we deduct them, you could get it down to 21 million.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So this is just kind of the area around the lake. And so why we've included these elements is if we're dredging the lake and we're working on the lake, now is the time to build those elements around the lake. Now there's some things that we could cut out. The waterfall trail would be really nice to do, but we could pull that back and not do it. And that's a pretty big number. That's not on the DUFTA alternates, but it's about $1 million also. There's some flexibility there. I think Dwayne right now is asking for 10 million. I've got some other slides, so we'll get to that in a second, but I'll go ahead and show you the other phase just so you guys see it. This is the amphitheater, parking lot, some of the road improvements, ticket buildings. We're looking at a construction cost of around 15. If we delay, there'll be some additional engineering fees because we'll have to do construction administration. Basically, our construction administration doubles in time, and there's some other things that would go along with that. We'd have to modify some stuff, especially if we delay it by 10 years. We're not sure how long you guys are delaying, but we kind of did a worst case scenario. Let's say it takes 10 years for us to do phase 2. Building codes change in that time. We would have to address those items and make sure that the building's still met code, so on. So that's why there's some engineering fees associated with that. Owner's contingency, total project cost is 17 million. If we consider a 5% cost increase per year for inflation, we're looking at around an $11 million add to that. So just worst case scenario, 5%'s a little on the conservative side, maybe it's 3, but that's, you know, compounding interest of 5% every year. We're looking at a project cost of almost $28 million for this project if we delay 10 years. I don't know that we're delaying 10 years, but stuff happens.
No, I get it, and I appreciate you proving our point that we need to get started. People vote for this stuff, they want it going, and it costs money to wait. Unfortunately, there's a line.
I understand.
But I think this is, are you through?
I got a couple more slides. Potential funding grant opportunities that we're looking at right now. There's a really good one at the Oklahoma the Land Water Conservation Fund. They will do a 50-50 match for parts of this project. So it's not like you guys come up with 10 million, they'll come up with 10 million. It's components of the project, and we'd have to explore what we could qualify for, and then we'd have to receive those too. That's not a guarantee. There's some state public facilities funds, or there's recreational trail program and 80-20. And I need to confirm that it's you guys provide 80 and they provide 20, not the other way around. I'm pretty sure it's that way, but we can verify, because if it's you guys provide 20, it's a pretty sweet bill. And that would also be parts of the project, not entirely. We have some wildlife department habitat improvements that we're looking at with our fishing docks, our pedestrian bridge, if they can cover part, like we're looking for getting some funding from them. The problem with some of these fundings is that we have to have a project in hand with money, or with saying, hey, we've got X number of dollars, this is how much it's gonna cost, will you cover this much, and so on. And a lot of these grants will stack. We don't have to just get one or the other. We can kind of stack them to help us. And then there's some TSET opportunities also. And then we're currently looking at a couple other areas. So there may be some, you know, opportunities for some community investment, just like at the sports facility where we reach out to your community and we see, does McMahon want to help fund the amphitheater? Is there enough opportunity there that it's something that they would want to be on board with? There's other facilities too that, you know. So think that is it. Sorry, it was a really long presentation, guys.
My one regret is you didn't bring your video that you show at these different municipal events, because I really think it puts a lot in a very good light and makes everybody jealous of us.
And we have been showing that to everyone at all these events, and everyone loves it, by the way.
And we want to do it all, but it can't. Now, the problem is you're needing 20 million or something there. And from what I saw, Dwayne had 10 million on his board. And so I'm wondering what the plan is here.
Tough questions.
We could get there. I would have to go in and cut some of the other, we'll call them ancillary projects that we added in. We could get to the 20, but we would be cutting some of these other projects out of this round of funding. Now, here's the thing. Most of those were smaller amounts that we could try to work in over the years as we progress through, depending on the level of funding that we see come in and any potential growth that maybe outpaces our projections. There might be some opportunities there. But it's whatever the council's desire is as far as priority at this point. If you want to make this project a priority and go ahead and push forward with the 20, we would just reprioritize the list and make adjustments on there.
When we used more conservative numbers than we used in our original CIP, which I'm very comfortable with the way we did it. I like you doing that, but I do want to say if, projections happen, that the extra funding could happen. Comments, Mr. Warren?
I was just going to say that I wish we could do the 40 because it's never going to be cheaper than it is right now. But there's just not any way I don't see that we could do that. I would be in favor of doing the 20 and trying to cut some of the smaller ancillary projects off the bottom of the list for now and save those till the next round, just simply because we're going to save a little bit of money, and I don't know what that amount would be, but I'm going to guess that it's probably close to $600,000 probably, if not more, if we do 20 now rather than 14 or whatever.
And we're not guaranteed any grant money, but we are going to try to get grant money. So if we get 20 from you guys, maybe we get another 10 from somewhere else, and we can do more of this project. We will scale it up to whatever we can fund.
I just feel like it's one of the main projects that we talk to the citizens about, other than infrastructure, was this project and the youth sports were really some of our leaders when we went out to the schools and the churches and places like that. And it's definitely going to have an effect on all the citizens. I'd make a motion to do that, to go with the 20.
But can you put the slide back up? Let's make sure we're all on the same page. The slide of phase 1.
I don't know how to do that.
Okay, so that's 21. Down at the bottom, it's 21 million.
Yeah.
Now, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, if we can figure out a way to do the 24.4, I hate those cuts. I guess we could always go in later, but I think cost-wise, it's better to do it now while we're doing it.
Why don't you make a motion for the staff to figure out the 24.4 and bring it back on the 11th? Is that the next council meeting?
Yes. That would be my motion, direct staff to bring back what projects would need to be put off to do the 24.4
Councilman Warren, it's on tomorrow's agenda.
Okay, can you do it that fast? You don't have to go to your office right now.
We're already scheduling a call with our bond attorney and our financial advisor, anticipating some changes. So we're going to try and work that out in the morning. What it may require is an amendment to the resolution will be presented tomorrow night. But I think we can do that on the floor.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Please vote. You're voting on them bringing back a plan on how to do the 24th. Motion carries 7-0. Bringing up item 8, receive a report regarding the overall master planning of the McMahon Park ball fields to include specific retaining wall bleachers, seating improvements. Mike, what's your estimated time on this?
Very short.
Short?
This one's short.
Short, okay.
It's the last project we have for you.
All right.
Man ball field improvements.
Thank you.
So we did a quick proposal a couple of years, 5 years ago for you guys on this. And we were asked to come out and relook at it again. And so we were told you had $2 million. What can we get for $2 million?
Not anymore.
Not anymore, but if we had $2 million, this is what you could get. This is one of the ones that's getting cut. And I 100% agree with the other one. It should happen. But if something happened and you said, well, no, we're going to spend $2 million. So right now we've got 2 big ball fields, 2 softball fields that are in pretty big disrepair. We've got retaining walls that are falling over and are a hazard. We've got guardrails that are failing, and so they could fall over really easily. And it's about a 10 to 12 foot fall, so it's not like a couple feet. And we've got some buildings that need new roofs, new soffits, and new fascias. And there's a gravel drive between 2 or 4 of the fields that's got big ruts and is a tripping hazard. So those are kind of the big things that we thought, let's see if we can address those for $2 million. Some photos of some of the conditions. On the plus side, we've got some shaded canopies out there that are in fairly good shape. Maybe some paint and they're good, but we could relocate those as well. And then our 2 buildings, there's a hole in the roof on the other side, or roofing. And then we've got just open soffits in places. Got some paving that's just running water back into the building. Just some little things like that. We propose, we'll go ahead and skip to the slide of the image. What we propose here is regrading that area up around the middle softball field, redoing the retaining walls there, redoing the grandstands there, salvaging the existing shade structure to reuse, re-roofing, redoing the soffit and the fascias on those existing buildings and painting them, removing the asphalt and gravel area and just regrade it with asphalt millings. If necessary, we provide a couple ADA parking spaces in concrete. And then we would go ahead and flip that one field. It's actually cheaper for us to flip that field and not put in a retaining wall. It also helps for the longevity of that facility that we get the fields where they're actually a little bit closer travel time between them and they're closer to the bathrooms and the concession building. Usually we see ball fields, they're in that Cloverfield arrangement, and we'd be getting closer to that arrangement. So, anyways, 1.6 million for construction, fees, survey, owner contingency, just under $2 million.
Okay, and I don't see, all I see here is we're receiving a report.
It was the McMahon, on your list of projects, it's the McMahon softball complex.
Okay, so.
That's correct. I was just receiving a report.
Okay, we're just receiving reports, so no action. Questions? Randy?
I just have a quick question, maybe for the gentleman in the back. Do we currently use this field?
We do.
Okay, and once the youth sports facility is complete, will we still need this field?
Preferably not. We should be able to field it all if we have the outdoor fields. All we're building is.
Okay, and the only reason I ask, Counselor, is because I just hate to spend money if we're not gonna use it. It would be better to program that money for something else, but, I guess we're gonna have to use it for a little while.
Any other questions or comments? Other questions or comments? Seeing none, do I have a motion? I have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Putin? Epps?
Yes.
Chapman? Gill?
Yes.
Hampton?
Yes.
Krieger?
Yes.
Warren?
Yes.
We stand adjourned.